It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level. Second level gaming. Second level.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Level 2 Podcast, episode 9. Because I remember this time. Last week I forgot, or 2 weeks ago I forgot.
That's almost 10.
It's almost 10.
That's episode
more than
German.
8.
Yes. As you can see today, I'm Keegan, by the way, from Level 2 Gamers. You got Buddy Tom, as usual, the half of Level 2 Gamers. And we got Jordan, who used to be part of us.
Yeah.
And then he went his separate ways, as Journey once said.
As
But-
Journey did say that one
But
time.
contrary to popular belief, we don't hate you.
No, and I don't hate you guys.
People for a while were like, what happened to Jordan? You guys
are like, he's a shithead.
We got in a big fight and everybody exploded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
That's not what happened.
We decided, though, it's end of year, might as well kind of bring the gang back together again and and talk. And
Final Fantasy is the other reason too, because
Yeah.
I can't talk Final Fantasy.
Fantasy is always the reason.
yeah.
Final Fantasy. So what have you been up to? We always start every episode with kind of what we're doing in the world of gaming and movies. But what?
Yeah. So right now, I am going through my massive backlog, mostly because I actually managed to kill my wallet and purchase every single game that came out in the past 2 months. So currently I'm cycling through
Did you go
Overwatch.
crazy on the Black Friday sale?
I bought Dragon Quest Builders on that.
I want that game. It looks
There's been a lot of those sales lately.
Yeah, there's been a lot of those sales, and I know that they just did day 3
The
with
Xbox
it.
One is about to go on, and apparently things. There's over 350 games that are going discount, including Final Fantasy 15. So I might get it on
Final Fantasy 15, $35 on Amazon right now.
Ooh,
Yeah.
it's the same price on Xbox.
Oh,
That's
cool.
what I'm assuming it's dropping to.
Either way, yeah.
And Watch Dogs 2 will be that.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that.
Speaking of that, I've been playing a lot of Watch Dogs 2. Final Fantasy 15 I've been playing a lot of, but we can kind of talk about that a little bit more during the quick bite, and also...
I had a question for you, actually, concerning Watch Dogs 2, because our last... guest that we had on the show was a big fan of it, and I was wondering what
both
your
of us were
opinions
kind of
were.
like, because
we were both assuming it was going to be shit after
So
watching
was I.
E3.
because the first one.
So was I. And
so
I,
walk ahead.
I've heard
Nothing
I've
but
heard
good things to
I've heard
say.
it's not so shit.
I was not looking forward to it, but if you were to look at my top 10 list, it's actually number 7
By
on
the
my
way,
top
we're
10
doing
of
we're
the
doing
year.
Game of the Years today.
Yeah,
It's
sorry to
kind of-
spoil
it's kind
that.
of-
Sorry.
Oh no, you're
That's
no spoiler. That's what we're doing today.
bonus
But that's
round?
This is the bonus round.
No, but yeah, Watch Dogs 2, I didn't actually play the first one because it just looked like shit. Aiden Pierce looked like a garbage character. I didn't like his character design, which is a bummer because I really like the hacker culture, and I like storylines set in just...
Mr. Robot.
Mr. Robot, hackers.
Which again, the Watch Dogs premises was such a good premises. I just feel like the execution just went.
Very poorly. So the second one definitely takes a complete 180 and goes a very colorful, very satirical route.
It reminds me a lot of GTA to a certain extent, which is not a bad thing.
Completely is.
Not a bad thing.
I would say that their writing and their characterization is actually right on point with some of the GTA 5 characters.
Because those are some of the best characters in video games.
They actually have probably the most accurate representation of an autistic character I've ever seen in a video game. And how he kind of lashes out and has kind of an episode during one of the missions, and the way the main character actually handles his episode is actually very accurate in terms of like how you're supposed to handle it.
Wow.
So I think that the writing of that game is very phenomenal. The acting of everything is pretty good. It's a funny game. I just got through a mission where they spent 5 minutes talking about cornholing.
One of my favorite things, and again, I haven't played it, but I've seen like screenshots of people, videos people posting, is just like when you can hack somebody and see information about them. They have the weirdest little tidbits sometimes. I'm like, that is wonderful that is in a game.
It's a very fun game, and probably the most pleasant surprise I've had this year.
I'm going to ask you the same question I asked him, which was that I have played the original Watch Dogs, and it was a case of kind of expecting it to be a lot better than it was. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was just
kind of
super mediocre for me. But I felt quite the same about the first Assassin's Creed, and I know that between Assassin's Creed 1 and Assassin's Creed 2, there was this gigantic change in quality.
It is the same quality jump.
Is that the same leap?
This game is,
okay.
Yeah.
That
Then
means they're
I'm
going to release
sold.
this every year, and then we're going to get at some point, and they're like, fuck, we don't need a Watch Dogs this year.
Maybe.
I don't know. I like these characters a lot. Like Marcus, the main character, is actually
3
very
years
well
between
done. I think it was about 3 years.
The last,
That
the
to me
last
is
guy
fine.
was just kind of he may as well have been a plank of wood.
Well,
Like,
that's
he's
the
just-
problem. He didn't have personality.
He actually is in the second game for a second. He's in one of the first missions, and I'm bummed that you have to rescue him from being captured, and I'm really bummed that they just didn't like just fucking kill him, and like you rescue him and he gets in the car, and then all of a sudden the car just blows up, and they're like,
Good
oh, Aiden
opportunity
Pierce.
for a developer
Instead
joke.
they were like,
Yeah.
Aiden Pierce, you mean the legendary hacker Aiden Pierce? And it was like, I mean,
He's not so legendary.
I mean, all right. Like the only thing that
it would have been better if they did Infamous.
That's a good
just
phrase for
just
it.
a play on words would have been nice there because of how much hate he's gotten from the community.
100%. But yeah, it is a phenomenal game. So much so that I've been playing Final Fantasy 15. Kind of put that to the side for a second because of some DLC story stuff that they're going to be bringing out later, which I'll again go over a little bit more when we discuss our top 10.
Did you get all the way through Final Fantasy yet?
I am about halfway through, and that's the point in which everything kind of takes a very drastic turn, and that's where the additional story stuff comes into play. Is the second half of the game.
And how many hours has gone in before you are now halfway?
24.
Wow.
He played a day.
So like not the longest I put into a Final Fantasy. Like
I'm guessing you're not doing a lot of all the side missions.
I've been doing almost all the side missions.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah. But the side missions are a lot of fetch quests.
They're very grindy.
They're very, very grindy, and that might be my only complaint I really have with the game is that the side quests are all the exact fucking same thing.
Yeah.
Yep. Welcome to the Division as well.
But that game itself is the weirdest, most hot mess of a game, and I absolutely adore it.
It's funny because like I'm not a Final Fantasy guy, and this has been touted as kind of the Final Fantasy for new people.
It's in my top. It's in my top 5 of my favorite Final Fantasies.
It's one of the biggest separations from traditional mythology of Final Fantasy.
I probably won't buy the game full price, but. Sure. Like I said, I would probably buy it if it went on sale to at least experience it. I don't know how much I'd play it, just because...
Do you know why I think you would like it? Is because with pretty much every other Final Fantasy, you gather like a group of rogues, and then you walk around, and sometimes you can see them, sometimes you can't in most of those games. Most of the times when you're walking around the map in the real world, you are just whatever main character you are, and then when you get in a fight, the rest of them come out and you can fight. But... with this one, because your brothers, your companions are with you 100% of the time, and you can do like joint moves and things, you are a very social gamer. So even though it's AI,
that's my issue. It's not real humans.
I think
and
you might
super well written characters.
They are very well written.
Characters.
I've been watching Kat Does Things. Has been streaming it, and I've been watching her play it a little bit, just to kind of get a feel for it. And I love Conda to a certain extent. She was freaking out at the fact that you could. There's some sort of piece of clothing you could put on. She was like, "Oh my god, I could do this." I was like, "Oh my god!"
You can change their casual clothes and stuff, but you can also take like selfies and
that's
cook
what I'm saying. Like, I love the
stupid
shit like that.
Yeah, but that adds that characterization
to
culture
in general.
So I've been taking kind of a step off of that, and I was like, I really want to play some Watch Dogs. So I usually spend a lot of the time doing a lot of the side missions. So I've instead been doing the story missions, which are a whole lot of fun. So I've been playing a little bit of that. I've been playing a lot of Let It Die, which is a free to play PS4 game.
To go and let it die.
The
game is actually it was a surprise of the of PSX, right? That was PSX.
PSX. They were like, "Hey, it's out. It's also
free."
It's free, and it's one of the most enjoyable games I played this year.
I think I'm the only person at the table that hasn't played it,
which is surprising to me because, like, out of either of you two to actually play that game,
I played it because it's free, and I was like, "Let me see what this was."
I
looked at it more.
It's weird as hell.
A video on it, perspective versus I'm gonna enjoy this game.
Yeah,
as soon as I played the first 20, you can ask him after 20 minutes. I sent Tom a message like, "We're recording this because this
quirky
is weird."
Shit. Yeah,
I thought it was a skateboard game.
I like a good free to play as well. I think that's always a success story when you have a free to play game that people actually enjoy.
We did our free to play podcast not too long ago, and now like this great free to play game came out, and and
its framing device for its narrative is also really interesting. And we'll actually I'll talk about it a little bit more on my list. I'm gonna pretty much just get out my whole entire top 10, but through the games I'm playing. I'm playing a little bit of Last Guardian. Not as much as maybe the other games, just because that game is hard to actually enjoy playing. I like Trico. The experience of it is really good in that the visuals are great, and I have a lot of animal empathy, and so like I am drawn to this dog creature that's like dog cat creature.
That's where I lost empathy.
Trico means in Japanese is bird cat. So it's not a dog.
It still acts like a dog.
I know, but
we had this exact same argument last week. Trust me.
You might be right. You might be right, but still, I still have this empathy for this animal.
It acts like a dog to me.
Yeah, and the fact that I can calm it down by petting it, like cats, after a fight.
Cats are twats.
I don't want to spoil anything, but I will tell you a little tip afterwards that I found really cool. I don't want to say it on here in case somebody doesn't want to know.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
We'll talk about it off camera. It's a little tiny things in that game that I think are really cool. There's a moment. I watched Jacksepticeye play. I didn't play it myself. I probably won't play it myself because I know the story, but there's a moment where you're wandering out of this cave and trying to get to a location, and we walk out of this room, or I say we, but walked out of this room, and there's just a Trico sitting there in the most gorgeous looking background with like things flying around, like the little fuzzies flying around. I was like,
the lighting is
hell?
great. His animation is fantastic, but
Ooh.
it struggles even on a PS4 Pro and a 4K to actually maintain anything.
Yep. Jack was
consistent.
said he was playing on PS4 Pro because he's heard
not good things with the regular. And then I've been digging into Overwatch a little bit because they just did the holiday thing. And,
did you get any skins yet?
Not yet, no. I really want that Zenyatta skin though because he's a nutcracker and it is probably the best skin I've seen.
I got Pharah's and I got, who else did I get? I really want the Reaper one, looks cool.
Yeah.
And
I want May's because I play May a whole lot and it's a snowman.
I
wreck as May and Diva.
why don't we play?
I don't know.
We should play sometime.
We should play. We should do a stream sometime. You and I. And
we joked that everybody from Mini Popcorn's going to show back up and play with us. We want to get him in the game.
I'm never playing that game.
Overwatch is so
it's
good,
funny because we talked about this back in the day.
I wanted to do a quick bite on it. And you guys were like, "We'll never play it."
Dumb.
And I was like, "No, guys, trust me. I hate this style of game."
I still hate it. So I'm sticking to my
guns. In my
guns.
defense, I had a lot of the Division had come out of that right around that time, so like that game had gotten me, and I feel like I had a lot going on. I didn't have time to learn the characters, and now that I know the characters, it's a different story.
Yeah.
Obviously, you find who works well with you. And the only reason I got it is because the free weekends, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
I can't play as Diva.
We'll talk about it later. When we talk about top 10 lists. And then aside from that, that's been kind of my gaming, kind of like rotating wheel. Like I said, I did pick up Dragon Quest Builders that I'll probably play in between some of the heavier games just to wind down for an hour or two at the end of the night. Yeah. But with movies and stuff like that, my goal right now is to, before 2016 is over, to see 60 movies that came out in 2016.
Will one include Rogue One?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm right now at 54. And I still have to see Rogue One. I have to see La La Land, and then I have to see this movie Elle that's coming out by Paul Verhoeven, who did RoboCop and all that stuff.
You should see Storks, Life of Pets. If we're talking, Life of Pets.
There's a handful of things that I will procure in one way or another at home.
Seriously, Secret Life of Pets, I think you would enjoy just because you're an animal person.
Yeah. But you can actually find my top 10 list on my Letterboxd. So it's letterboxd.com/jballin. It's JBAWLIN. Letterboxd is a movie, what's the word I'm trying to think of? It's a movie database.
Okay. So it's like IMDb.
Exactly, but you can actually make lists of everything. So I have a list of the movies I've seen in 2016, then my top 10 movies of 2016.
Gotcha.
You can write reviews for them.
For those of you that don't know, Jordan is quite a fan of lists and reviews.
Yeah.
And he makes
he's
them.
He's very analytical too.
No one in the world prompts him to do it. He just does it, and he loves it, and that's great.
No one else really enjoys it. Like I'll post things on Instagram, get 5 likes on it, and I'm like, whatever. Like there's gonna be one person who's like, I might actually try this because someone that I know.
Can I say I do? Whenever I see you post something like that, I think it was. I asked you if you'd seen Train to Busan, but then I remember the first time that I'd seen it, I think you talked about it.
Yeah.
And there's The Invitation was another one that I watched that you recommended, and I turned out to really like that. So I do pay attention, and I do take your opinion seriously.
I don't, because we have different tastes and stuff.
Yeah, which is completely fine.
Yeah.
But that's been me pretty much. Is just trying to get through all of these games I spent. Dishonored 2 I've also been playing.
The problem I have with this year is a lot of those games I don't want to play.
This year was backloaded super heavily. Like there was not shit that in the first half. It was Dark Souls 3 and Overwatch, and that was pretty much it.
See, for me, it's Division. Division has carried me the whole way through. But
the first half of the year was completely slow, and then all of a sudden, once July hit, it was Mafia 3 came out, and then it was boom, 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 and now it's just all these are games.
I do wish they'd spread it out.
Do you remember going into E3, all the rumors and everything? We're there's nothing here. The summers are obviously usually indie games, which I love because they gives them a chance to shine.
Yeah.
But then the fall, like you said, just went whoop, and it did the same thing last November. I mean, I remember in November last year. I remember November. Last year I spent $300 on video games. Yeah. 120 that was Star Wars, but
I think the last good game I remember to come out in summer was they released Red Dead Redemption. Right at the beginning of summer. They timed it perfectly because that was the only game in town. So every single person picked it up. And since it's a new game, everyone was a little hesitant, but they went into it because they wanted GTA 5, 6, whatever it was at the time. And so it's... I think that's one of the only ones that successfully pull it off properly.
Yeah, because Rockstar can do whatever the hell they want at this point.
Them and Capcom do weird release dates. Capcom usually sticks in the January, February. Mm-hmm. And so I'm looking forward to this next 2 months where there's nothing except for Resident Evil 7 coming out.
You know what'll be interesting with Nintendo having their, because Nintendo's conference is on January 12th.
Yep.
And obviously they're releasing it in March, so that gives you a little bit of time to release it. But I wonder how much Nintendo will shake a lot of this up gaming wise.
Yeah.
Just from not necessarily like people like you playing it,
Yeah.
but just press attention to maybe bury some other things
Sure.
that should come to the light of day because they're not
Like
bad, but they're not
like the
Nintendo-
low
they're not
processing
Nintendo.
power of the Switch.
I apologize. I'm updating my notes as we speak. I keep thinking of things as we're talking. So.
But yeah, so that's been
you've been
where
up to?
I'm at. But yeah, 60 is the movie that I'm aiming for, like the goal.
I've seen like 4.
Yeah, and everyone's like, I didn't even think 60 movies came out this year, and I'm like, that's because you're a peasant.
Well, clearly. So I was for Rogue One. I'm trying to go see it with my brother, but the problem is our schedules don't line up this year.
Yeah.
Because of the way I work.
That looks really good.
It's
got
kind of
really
sucks because
good
we saw
reviews so far.
we saw episode 7 together, which was fantastic. We wanted to do it again this year, but we don't know. I went to go look to see if you could go to the movie theater on Christmas Day, and the movie theater's open, but they're not playing Star Wars, which to me is dumb.
That's stupid.
I feel like
It's very
welcome
surprising.
to Decatur.
That's where you
Decatur,
get
Illinois,
everyone.
everybody.
That's where you get everyone who's not like white Anglo-Saxon to go and see your movie. That's how you
Yes.
get all the other religions.
I was just super confused because it's like I can't remember what movies we're playing, but there are 2 movies that I never heard
Life
of.
of Pets.
Maybe
Yeah,
a
that's
different cinema.
I've looked like
All of
I'm
them?
going. I'm going.
No
to,
one's doing Star Wars.
No, I'm in Decatur.
Well-
I'm going to a small town, and there's only three
Decatur
theaters.
there's like
Yeah,
3
there's
people
fair.
in
three
that
theaters.
town.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Probably St. Louis. You could go
Oh,
watch
I'm
it.
sure, but I won't be in St.
That's
Louis.
what I might do.
That's the problem.
It's my birthday
But,
as well. I'll treat myself.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta see it in 3D. I heard a 3D is actually pretty good.
Really?
Yeah.
And Sunday you can get cheaper prices early in the day because the matinee.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you can go see
Yeah.
it. And old people won't be in that theater because like they don't.
It's the young
understand
people
3D.
that piss me off. Old people I don't mind so much. They smell a bit, but they don't.
No,
they
old
don't make a
people are
lot of
super
noise.
inconsiderate in movies. Whenever I've gone to see them,
Really?
like
Interesting.
they're just sitting there like talking to their friends, and I'm like, listen, I get that you're afraid you might die during the movie, but like, shut the fuck up,
Yeah.
please. So yeah, that's the end of
Yeah.
2016 for me.
What about you, Tom? What have you been rocking and rolling?
So TV wise, I'm kind
You
of in
always
a,
have something.
I'm in a weird mixture. Yeah, we just finished up How to Get Away with Murder. Well, at least as far as it goes. And
Did you
it's-
figure out how
it's
to get
all
away
right.
with murder?
Not yet. They're still trying.
It's just kind of schlocky, that show. Isn't
It is.
Like,
it's a
not-
little bit cheesy here and there, but it's a Shonda show, and they're all a bit like that. And I'm mostly watching it for wifey's sake, like I said. But she's also
Wasn't that
finished.
Pretty Little Liars?
She's finished Pretty Little Liars
Pretty
now,
Little Liars
so
is
she's
so
fucked.
good.
Got nothing to watch.
That show is so good.
We've tried to start a few things. So we tried to start Westworld, and then for whatever reason we fell asleep, and then we couldn't be bothered to rewatch it. So
Yeah.
we'll get back to that.
That's the problem when you watch Netflix and you fall asleep. You're like,
God,
because it
I
continues
am-
to play, and you're like, where did I leave off?
I'm so tired lately. Like I can't make it through a single
Westworld's
movie.
also a really tough show. Like I want to watch so much of that show, and I'm stuck on episode 3 because I love everything that show is. But there's nothing actually pulling me into watching that show whenever I turn it on.
right.
Yeah.
Like it
Well,
It's
I
like
do-
when- like
it
back
is
in the day when it was
supposed to be
on-
like the more you go, the better it gets.
Which is great, but,
situation.
Would it be
like-
like back then when it was on, you'd watch it, but you wouldn't go searching for it. Like when you used to flip channels.
Yeah.
No, I didn't even watch it when it was
Kinda
on.
like
It was airing, and I was just like,
I don't care.
a little bit
don't
like
care.
The Wire, maybe. The Wire, like you literally have to watch 6 episodes before you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm
Never
in
watched
forever.
which is
But,
fine with
you
like
know.
The Wire, which is 900,000 episodes.
Right,
But when
right.
it's an 8-episode
Right, right.
miniseries, it's
Yeah.
like, nah, like I get that you want to build tension and build a mystery, but you gotta.
It's like Haters Back Off.
And Trans Me,
which is
yeah.
probably better than that.
Way better than that, I'm sure.
That's-
Plus Anthony Hopkins, why not?
Yeah.
But the other thing is the second season of Ash vs. Evil Dead, which, if you haven't seen it, is always amazing.
I've learned sitting across the table from you that you watch some weird shit that I've never heard of.
You
do a lot of indie.
You don't know what the Evil Dead did, which is really a problem in society. But that aside, Ash versus the Evil Dead is very funny.
When you said Ash, I just thought of Pokemon. That's
no.
literally where my mind went. Was,
That's what my
Pokemon.
wife-
He's actually catching zombies.
Yeah. I was
My
like,
wife
what?
was talking about making a Ash Ketchum versus Ash from Evil Dead like mashup Halloween costume
That'd be
next
fun.
year. I'm not quite sure how that would work, but
Just Ash's hat with the chainsaw arm.
yeah, exactly right. But anyway, it's it's just it's schlocky. It's super fucking over the top, gory, like awful gore
why I don't watch
everywhere.
I mean, it's like spring,
But
I
it's like
can't- I can't
fun
do
gore.
gore.
Yeah,
I know,
it's-
but I can't. Like,
it's
gore
not
to
like
me is not
gore.
enjoyable. I don't understand.
which is fair.
That's
Yeah.
fair. But again, same thing, falling asleep. Then we tried to watch Die Hard, which I was in for because
You
remember
posted that your,
you told
that
me
your
this
wife
story.
had.
Yeah,
I've
there's
never seen it.
There's
either,
been
but-
this picture, this meme that goes around, which is of a Christmas ornament, which has Bruce Willis crawling through a duct vent, so I show that to her, and she's like, "I've never seen it."
Yeah.
Which breaks my heart.
Which
I've
it was
never-
literally
I've never
within
seen it.
5 seconds that we were watching from the point that she said that, and then of course I fell asleep. So I did watch a couple good things. I watched Train to Busan, which I reviewed. I watched Beyond.
Do you fall asleep on the couch? Do you have a TV in your bedroom, or do you watch it?
That couch folds out. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like we're very.
I fall asleep on the couch.
I know, but I just was like,
It's
you
awful.
literally just sleep on the couch at this point, not because you're in trouble.
So
because
the last thing that we latched onto anyway, which is something that we are kind of going through, is Expedition Unknown, which is an easy to kind of just chill with show. I love Josh Gates. I think he's a great presenter when he was in Destination Truth or whatever that was. But it's basically him going to different historical sites to research things like where is Genghis Khan's tomb, or where did King Arthur pull the sword from the stone?
That's something.
But he's a really great host because he goes to these like nations and he just takes the piss out of them the entire time.
It's not. I'm hoping it's not super. The problem I have with a lot of those is they're very much going by a script. And it's one of those ones where when you're getting into the advert, there's a oh my god, and then like advert, and then when it comes back, it's like oh yeah, everything's fine actually. So
I stubbed my toe.
It's the worst for that. But at the same time, Josh Gates traveling the world, always funny, and that's a good 3 seasons worth of content. So. Game-wise, obviously, Final Fantasy 15. I haven't had anywhere near as much as I'd like with that.
Have you picked up Elder Scrolls since you've gotten that game?
No, except for maybe when our stream.
But that's because I'm telling you we're playing this game.
The other thing that surprised me a lot, I played a couple things, a couple little minis that I kind of picked up over a lot of these sales that we've been having. And the surprising hit for me was a game called Lichspiel.
Lichspiel isn't really interesting.
Yeah, I showed you the trailer.
We watched the trailer and I was like, oh my god, this is too good.
And it looked amazing. So it was on sale for like $5 and I was like, fucking yes. So Lichspiel I purchased and I had such a good time with it. Honestly, it is like an Angry Birds game or a tennis in your face game where you basically just angle like
and the humor
looks
from the
amazing.
trailer was fantastic.
The humor is great. You do actually have a sense of addictiveness going into it, like just one more round, and it's funny. It's very, very funny.
And that's when your wife's like, Tom, time to go to bed.
Yeah. So Lichspiel has been the one I've been playing the most recently. But,
Final Fantasy and Lichspiel. Think about that's
very
two
opposing games, but and I am going to get back into the VR. I bought a lot of VR games that I haven't touched yet because most of our recordings rely on us being fresh to it. Yes. So I'm kind of like, I'm picking and choosing which ones I should play that you should play after. Yeah. So I'm being very careful not to give you anything scary.
Yeah.
Because I'm sensitive.
Nothing spooky.
Speaking of VR, I'm actually going to take the VR headset up to my grandma's house. So my brother wanted to play the PSVR.
Sure.
So they're coming in town for that. So I'm taking the headset up there. My cousins sent a message to them saying, hey, this is going to be here during the day.
You're going to let Grandma play it?
I really want Grandma to try, but I think she might have a hard... She's 96 years old, I believe.
Let her play Resident Evil. Is it?
Yeah. I was going to have her do the Ocean Descent, but only the reef one where you just stay up top.
Yeah.
Just that might be... Yeah. So she can get the sense of like,
definitely
oh my God,
don't accidentally select the shark one.
Yeah. I was going to do that.
But
I just don't think she would. She doesn't... It's funny because she sees everything I post like to Facebook, and she likes stuff, but whenever I see her, she goes, I have no idea what you're doing. I'll show her pictures and videos. She's like,
I love your Nan. I love it when she posts things. She's liked comments I put on your stuff before, which is hilarious to me.
I don't know if she knows what she's doing.
Probably not, but it's very heartwarming.
She was trying to call you when she liked it.
That's what she was doing. My friend Keegan. She'll go like.
Well, the other day she had Messenger open, and she did call me on Facebook, and I answered. I'm like, why are you calling me? She's like, what did I do? Like, she didn't know she called me.
That's adorable.
And then she sent me a message after I hung up. She's like, I don't think I meant to do that.
Why is my grandson here?
Yeah, but
is this VR?
I can't wait to see we've talked about this before, but the fresh faces seeing the VR for the first time.
Sure. Yeah.
My brother...
It's always better that way.
My brother, fun fact, his school has an HTC Vive that they do game development on.
Wow.
Yeah, he goes to private school in New York.
I went to fucking school at the wrong time. All this bullshit that
he goes
fucking
to...
you two, I didn't have the internet when I went to school.
He goes to very... it's going to sound really uppity, but he goes to a very exclusive school in New York, partially because my mom works there, so...
but even still, like, a lot of public schools and stuff like that, like, you're still being taught, like, there's more variation in regards to those things that are going to allow you to not have to go to college and still make...
It's incredible how resistant people were to the idea of, like, IT classes and stuff when they first came out, as compared to now, where everyone is taking computer science or something like that.
Yeah, you have to. Some schools require it now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Stony Brook, which is where he goes, they don't require it yet. They're in talks of making a computer science one of the
every summer when I was younger, me and my best friend would go to the school, and the IT teacher there would pay us to basically install internet stuff on all these new... Because there's like 50 computers, so the school would pay us to do this.
With your AOL discs?
like terrible old horrible stuff. But because there were so many of them, he just didn't have the time. So because we kind of half knew what we were doing, we would install the internet. I remember distinctly being, the first person to literally put the internet on our fucking school computers.
That's crazy to me.
And then you guys, like
the internet didn't exist.
I had to go to the library if I wanted to research something.
I was trying to figure out how to play games on the internet when I was in school, and that's why everybody came to me. Fun little side story here before I get into what I've been doing. In school, they actually hired me to fix their grading system because I hacked into the grading system because I was like, just for fun kind of thing.
Keegan's a hacker.
Yeah. No, just for fun. I just like, can I, because you see it in movies all the time, like, is this actually possible? I wasn't going to change anything. I didn't change anything. I just wanted to be like, can I get in there?
To be fair, you probably just had to click on something and you were just like...
No, do you want to know what I had to do? I put in a keylogger on a couple computers and was able to get those remotely for passwords. Nice. I mean, which is very... don't do that. I don't assume it's illegal at this point.
Let's get fucking Aiden Pierce over.
I know, right? Watch Dogs 1.
The infamous Aiden
I
Pierce.
assume it's illegal at this point. It was not because it was a gray area at that point.
I assume putting a keylogger was... Of course it was fucking illegal. What else you been doing?
What else am I doing?
Other than logging your strokes.
But no, they hired me to get better protection.
Nice.
And not to do that. So, what have I been doing? Well, this morning I tried to play Survival because the Division, as we've said many a times, is my game. I've been playing over 12, almost 13 days.
'Twas a love that you had and lost and loved again.
I didn't.
You didn't
if
always
you love something,
love it.
let it go, and if it comes back to you,
then it's real love. Yeah.
Let it go.
Don't even.
I will leave this.
You can't because there's just a wall of stuff. You'd knock everything over.
He will burn his place to the ground.
The survival update finally came out to PS4 as of recording this morning. So I'm hoping to go home and play it. We tried to do it last night. Cody played it this morning and sent me a text saying it's real tough.
Would you say it was necessary for the survival of that game?
No. So do you hear ever since the 1.4 update, which is where they fixed a shit ton of bugs. That's probably the biggest issue I have right now with the game is it took so long to fix shit. Their player base is back to where it was at launch, which I find fascinating that a game versus like No Man's Sky that completely just dropped the ball, but that's partially because they promised something that wasn't there.
And they also haven't communicated anything.
That's what I'm saying. But Ubisoft is like, look, because our game's broken, because you guys have said this, we're going to push all of our DLC back a few months and fix the core game before we add anything on top, which sucks when you hear it, but at the same time, you're like, thank you.
It's the smart thing to do.
Yeah.
Good for them.
I should pick that game back because I got the gold edition, so I have the season pass, and I already redeemed it.
Have you done Underground?
No.
Underground is probably going to be my favorite DLC because it's AI versus PvP.
Cool.
So I don't like PvP that much. That's why I didn't like the Dark Zone. But Survival is PvP.
But there's also AI.
AI.
It's also kind of roguelike because you start at square one with everyone and you have to build everything.
And you die, and it's permadeath, like you're dead. Yeah. Your character doesn't go on anywhere.
Well, you have a few minutes to revive.
Yes.
But if you don't get revived, it's permadeath.
We're trying to find a way, and we're going to see if we can do this, but a lot of us play the Division and get, like, because normally you do groups of 4. We're going to try and find a way if we can take over a server and just dominate it. That'd be fun. Try to get that figured out.
And you have to probably do separate like groups of 4. I mean, if you just did a giant party chat with PS4 and then just all played near each other, like that's just
what I'm hoping.
What you'd have to do.
They should give you the option to create a private server in that game.
They don't.
Yeah, I'm saying they should.
Yeah, they don't.
Literally unplayable.
Yeah.
Unplayable.
So Division Survival is what I'm looking forward to playing too. I played Division last night as I normally do. Ran through it for a little bit. Star Wars, I got back into Star Wars Battlefront just because I have the season pass. I already paid $120.
Does that have the Rogue One stuff in it now?
Yes, that's why I got back into it. So the Rogue One DLC came out. The Scarif DLC is actually what it's called. Scarf. It's actually, I think it's called Star Wars Battlefront Rogue One Scarif DLC is the official name.
Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah, it was a lot of words. When I was typing that, we did the review video, when I was typing that name, I was like, holy crap.
Rogue One DLC will suffice.
Yeah, but for searching Scarif, if you want to have it in there, because somebody's
in the tags. Yeah, tag shit out of it, but not in the title.
Well, title, it's important as well, because it talks about first.
Semantics. So Rogue One.
Anyways, Rogue One DLC, they added a new game mode, which I thought was kind of clever. The problem I had with that was it was the same game modes, just connected together with 3 different sections, so I had an issue with that, but the new hero is Jyn Erso, right? That's her name?
Yes.
Yes. I liked playing with her. She was a lot of fun. Hey, I like playing with her.
Oh my God.
But she was really well balanced.
See everyone? Nice.
It was really well balanced. I had a lot of fun playing it, but again, that's one of those games like, unlike the Division, where I bought the gold edition of the Division. I bought the game for $100. I've put over almost
over 100, but it was 120, wasn't it?
No, well, Battlefront was 120.
That's what I was
Division
thinking.
was 100.
Oh, Division was 120.
Yeah. So Division I paid
lost
100
in all of the ridiculous amounts of money that you spent for games.
last year.
I'm spending 200 on the new Nier when it's coming out.
But I played, to give an example, I paid $100 for that game. I put 13 days in time into it. Star Wars Battlefront, when it first came out, I streamed it a lot because it was new. It was the Star Wars hype. Force Awakens was about to come out.
We got a lot of views on the channel.
We did. That was crazy.
When you streamed that.
I wanted to... David's like, it feels like Star Wars time again. He sent me a message the other day. He's like, we need to stream Star Wars. I go, yeah, but...
So here's a question for you. So you put how many hours into Division? 13, you said?
13 days.
13 days.
Worth, so.
Yeah. And do you know how many into Battlefront?
I can check, but between my two accounts, because I started on my personal account and then I switched over to level 2 account. But my personal account, I'm level 45, which I've not played since any DLCs come out. The level 2 account, I just hit level 20. So I would probably say maybe 15 hours tops.
That's about 300 hours in the Division, just so you know.
Yeah.
That's good.
So would you pay $100 to have 13 days of your life back? Is my question.
No, because I enjoyed those 13 days.
No, I didn't say you had to erase the Division. I'm just saying, is that a good deal?
Oh yeah. By far, for me, it was the greatest thing.
I mean, you are getting... That is a massive return on investment.
Yes.
If you look at that. Like, if you look at anything else where, like,
how much is that per day? Break it down for me. I'm shit at math. Yeah.
But no, so Star Wars, The Division, I've been having a lot of fun with. There's been indie games here and there.
Just trying to think of what I would say for, like...
What do we...
Well, let's just say 312 hours.
We're trying to figure out about the death thing. It's something
312 divided by 13 will give you how many...
So that's about like, if you go based off of, like, what the average set, like, hourly rate is for someone in our position, you're probably looking at that being about $4,500 worth of time.
Hey, Ubisoft, you want to pay me for that?
So you spent... So that is a massive amount, like, return on investment. So if you look at that $4,500 towards...
anything
times.
Is everyone enjoying this little side tangent?
Yeah, you guys can keep talking and I'll keep doing the math.
I don't know why it came into my head and I was like, when you think about how many years or days or whatever you put into this stuff, like,
how much
extracting the experience is usually like everyone's like, no, I would do it again just so I could experience it. But what if it wasn't? What if you could keep the knowledge, but you would pay the same amount of money to stay alive?
I don't think I would.
Weird.
Just because
I
probably wouldn't be doing anything else. I'd be playing a different game probably.
All right, so alongside the Division.
So yeah, I did Division. I did Star Wars Battlefront.
$46 a day.
Jesus Christ.
What would you do in the comments? Continue.
And then I've also been doing a few of the indie games that come here and there. We've gotten a few keys from developers. I told you yesterday we got a key for a
Mac game
for Kindred. So I'm gonna try
really?
that.
Cool.
Yeah,
Kindred looks
try
neat.
that out. I haven't. It was released earlier this year. So I don't think it's got another wave of keys or what, but we got it for Mac, so I'm gonna try that out. And then I've been playing City Skylines again.
Yeah.
Because I got the... So we're gonna make it kind of like a Friday series every so often where it's gonna happen like every 2 to 3 weeks. But I also got the Natural Disasters DLC. And a little fun fact, I hope this happens when I launch the game up next time, but I recorded episode 1 3 times because I had recording issues. Recorded episode 1, when I was done, I saved the game, and then I was going to come back and obviously load it and play again, but I didn't quit the game yet. I'm sitting there, getting everything exported, and it goes, warning, you have an earthquake of magnitude 5.4 coming imminently.
Wow.
Please prepare your town. And I was like, shit, I'm not ready, because I have no shelters. I'm doing unlimited money. It's just a creative build. But it's a lot of fun so far. It
sounds like the most malicious DLC because
the
amount of time that you put into making your entire city and then just like warnings, tsunami, you're fucked.
But you can, there's things to prevent them now, which is what I like. So I bought that DLC versus the other ones because of that. It makes it more realistic. Tornadoes will destroy your shit.
Definitely gives you an excuse to keep playing, doesn't it?
Yeah,
you have to rebuild.
Yes, but it's a cool little game. The scenarios, there are now scenarios for it. There's one you have to have 260,000 people in your city.
So that kind of gives you a story path,
That's
or like a progress path to go.
Or one of them is you have to move. I think it's 500,000 people via public transportation within 3 years.
They just released some theme park creator today,
I know.
Which has VR elements. It's not Roller Coaster Tycoon.
No.
Tycoon. It's just called like Roller Coaster. Do you know what it is?
Roller Coaster VR.
Roller Coaster Adventures or something like that.
I think I looked that up at one point.
It literally came out today, but there's a demo with it. So we have the demo, so I figure we'll try that. Because I think it's VR for the rides only, but everything else is
Planet Coaster is
top down.
Best.
Planet Coaster is the
best
about,
one.
Yeah,
but it's Windows only.
That game is fucking hilarious.
I want it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, that's what I've been doing. And then movie, TV wise, I finished the Hitler series as we talked about last week. It got real weird last week, and I moved on from the.
There's far too many Hitler references.
Yeah,
let's just say that.
it got real weird.
Yeah, I watched it back again, and that moment when you say SS accidentally was just priceless. Anyway, continue.
But I'm now watching Stephen Fry in America. So you talked about it a few weeks ago. It came up. It's like, because again, I was done with my series. What I watch now, and
that's a Netflix show.
It popped up, and I was like, you know what? Because again, I love the historical documentaries. Whether they're real, fake, I don't care. I prefer real ones versus staged ones, but I love the historical documentary type stuff, and I love it coming from a outsider's perspective. Coming into the States, the only issue I have with the series, I'm about half. I got through Mississippi, so he's heading west. I think there's 3 or 4 more episodes.
Yeah, this is the one we went to St. Louis, and literally all he did was visit some homeless people and then carry on.
Well, that's what I say. That he doesn't stay long in the places he's going.
Well, he has to go through the entirety of the country, though. So
I know, but I wish. So my opinion would have been pick a smaller chunk of states and talk about those more in depth and make the series longer versus hitting.
They could have just made the series longer, but just stayed more in different places. Because the problem with English TV, as you are well aware, is that we only ever do like 6 episodes of anything.
But so 6 really good episodes.
Yeah, so if they instead did like a 22 episode marathon, at a certain point it might get boring. But I kind of like that he had a theme for each area.
Yeah. I just wanted it like. I'm from New York. I'm from the Northeast, so I know that area pretty well. Like he spent a lot of time in Maine, then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, by the way, we're just going through Connecticut," and I was like. Cool. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, there's stuff in Connecticut.
He definitely did skip some stuff, but I think you have to give him a certain amount of.
I know that's my biggest gripe with it, but I love it. I'm going to continue watching it. So that's been my.
And well, if you like that one, the next one to watch after, which is the other Stephen, what's his face one I was talking about, was the Last Chance to See.
I've watched that already.
Oh, you've seen that one already?
That one I already watched. It was funny because you talked about him breaking his arm. I was like, oh yeah, I know it's coming.
Have you seen that?
No, but they're on my list.
Things
to watch.
It's a good one.
The Amazon Manatee was really interesting. I think it's funny because as that was going along, I realized that guy was a little bit of a puss when it came to doing stuff. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
There's just
he's definitely not very
because I feel like if you're hosting that and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna do this, let's go in and do it, and he's like, nope, I'm gonna hang on my boat. I'm gonna let you guys do it. Like,
that's kind of the funny part for me, though. Well, the sea lion
part,
dainty, and they put him in these horrible situations in the jungle and stuff.
Yeah, well, the sea lion part where they got stuck on the rocks, he's like, I made the right choice. He's like, I'm not gonna die, but you two might. So
I forgot one thing I want to mention before we move on, Tom, that you would like. So I've been watching this sci-fi show, which immediately you kind of might be apprehensive because it's a sci-fi show.
I am.
It's called The Expanse. It has Thomas Jane.
Okay, good.
And I really like him a lot. It's Thomas Jane channeling his best Tom Hardy impression in this show, and it's great.
What's it about? Give me a quick plot
Thomas Jane is a detective. He is searching for a missing person who is the daughter of this giant CEO. There is a galactic kind of like tension between Mars and Earth, because they found this belt on the Milky Way that has an infinite amount almost of harvestable ice, so they can make water for the next thousands of years without having to worry about anything. The Martians are trying to make Mars into like an inhabitable place.
Which is what we're doing.
Yeah, Earth is just fucking everything up because that's what we do.
That's what we're doing in real life.
But there's like. We find out there's this bigger political conspiracy surrounding this missing persons thing. It's 10 episodes long.
Is it typical sci-fi cheese, or is it an exception to the rule? Because there is occasionally exceptions.
It is an exception to the rule. It is. You can tell that there is a budget attached to it for sure.
Gotcha.
If only because like there are the occasional like 3D things that look kind of hokey, but like the space battles look pretty good. The actual like ships look really solid, and the acting and the writing is actually really pretty.
I'm down for anything with Tom Jane since he did The Punisher justice, I believe.
But I've been missing some good sci-fi stuff, and like this is more engaging to me than Westworld has been.
Interesting
by a stretch. So The Expanse, it's sci-fi. I recommend it.
Netflix.
You have to find it other place.
So iTunes, I'm guessing.
iTunes, you can do it.
Other places.
Other places.
Or other places.
We're gonna try to keep this legal.
I'm not saying anything illegal. I said other places.
He said Google it and put the word torrent after.
Yeah, I found it in Tom's basement. So yeah, The Expanse, and that was the last thing I wanted to mention before we move on. So
that's Great, it's a nice review that I wasn't expecting. Yeah. So yeah,
let's move on to one of the reasons you're here is because Game of the Year. And just so you guys know, if you're watching and or listening,
stretch it out for this.
If you're watching and or listening, this is our personal Game of the Year, not necessarily objective Game of the Year that we think is the greatest game.
No, we are deciding the fates of all games.
Yes, but this is our personal Game of the Year, so it may not. Like, I know some of mine are not even on the list for Game of the Year this year, the Game Awards. I love them to death. So that kind of thing. So just keep that in mind, personal Game of the Year versus...
Just the level 2 Game of the Year.
And there's no channel like game. Like, it's not level 2 says this is Game of the Year.
It's literally Tom stuff, then Keegan stuff, then Jordan stuff, all separate, but probably quite similar in places.
I'm hoping. We'll find out. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'll be the oddball here.
So we're going to do... Top five to keep it,
and then honorable mention.
Honorable mention. I think we wanted to also say biggest disappointment of the year.
You guys, we want to start with biggest disappointment so we can end on a good note.
We can. I would say let's also maybe end it with best surprise of the year because we talked about that a little bit. But I think we should really definitely mention things that
look at us figuring stuff out on our
radar. Yeah.
So biggest disappointment of the year. I'll start because mine's really easy.
Yeah.
It's really easy to talk about. No Man's Sky. Period.
Sure.
I mean, you don't need to say much about the game. The game flopped. I was not much in the hype train when it came along.
Yeah.
To be honest, but even as somebody who kind of tempered his
expectations,
what he expected from it, it still got super boring, super quick, which was my issue. Granted, they just did the Foundation update, which has the base building.
Turned it into Subnautica.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I told you it felt like Subnautica to me, which isn't a bad thing, but.
But Subnautica's an early access.
Yes, that's to me what it should have been an early access game, which I know Sony doesn't do. Which I think is funny. That's why Ark took so long to get on PlayStation. But Sony doesn't do early access games. But I feel that's what this game feels like. And if they'd come out and said, "Hey, early access," no issue. If they come out and the other thing I think they had was the $60 price tag is what killed them. If it came out and that game was $20 or $30, the backlash would not have been what it was.
Sure.
Granted, Sean Murray did lie about a lot of things.
I think his silence was the most damning
That was the
thing.
hardest part.
Had he just been like after people started asking questions, had he actually said anything?
Even if it was just like, "Hey, we hear you. We're working on it. I'm sorry."
But he is just gone.
Yeah, he went off Twitter.
Yeah,
he was very active on Twitter before then because he's obviously and. I don't know how I feel about this because it's the dichotomy of the industry. From a fan perspective, that game was not what we wanted. Well, they still sold thousands of copies of that game.
Sony's
they made their money, so it's kind of like.
To be fair, they did refund a lot of them,
but Sony's still, I think, in the like black with that. Like, I don't think they're in the red.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were.
Sean Murray, I don't think will ever make another game.
I think he's shot himself
with
in the foot.
Sony again.
Yeah, I don't think Sean Murray will ever make.
I think a lot of it also, though, you have to put a little bit of blame on Sony for that because Sony did market the fuck out of that game when it was initially an indie game.
The blame falls on everybody. There was not one single thing where that because if there's one thing that ruins a game, usually you can rebound it. So, like an example, The Division. The Division had a lot of fucking issues when it came technically, but you can fix that. Yeah. Sean Murray not kind of saying yes or no to things because I think the biggest problem with that game, and it's similar to how other companies keep things secret, like Nintendo keeps things secret, is the secrecy. Like, what is this game? We're all hyped. They're getting this pipe dream, but
I honestly don't know if they knew at the time. I think the problem was they showed off this kind of early demo footage.
They showed off a concept.
Yeah, a concept, and then they got given more than ample time to produce on that concept, but the concept was very, very fucking large in scope. It was a case of being something that was so overtly ambitious for an indie dev team to perform that there was always the potential for it to be horribly,
one of the things I really loved is Jeff Keighley was one of the people who pushed it to be on the Game Awards, and he came out later on and he goes, "I'm sorry. Like, I screwed that up. I want to apologize to Hello Games. I want to apologize to all you guys. I shouldn't have done that." And that's why if you look at the Game Awards this year,
if it tempered expectations,
it was
more
gameplay.
It
was way more gameplay.
I think one of the biggest things too with that game is that had he like the things that could have prevented it from being complete misfire is like even just saying the things like you're not going to be able to see another player character.
Yeah, like that wouldn't have been
once
an
that
issue.
didn't happen. He was like, "Oh yeah, like we meant to get that out in a press release. Like as it turns out, we weren't able to actually create player character models for anything."
The problem I have, I think, not problem, but the other side of the coin, I guess, for them is kind of like you're saying, they had these ideas and they had these ambitions. How much of this, when did they figure out they couldn't do it? That's the other thing.
I think probably early on.
So it's
probably after the hype train had already started. But
but even if they come out,
at least they're trying. That's I mean, and I know that doesn't take back the $60 that everyone lost on that game.
I don't think.
At least they are sitting in the corner of the office as a smaller team of sort of buttoned off from the larger team and trying to come up with new and original
concepts. Let's compare them
concepts.
to what Yooka-Laylee is doing right now. Obviously, Yooka-Laylee has the rare people's backing. It was a Kickstarter game, one of the greatest Kickstarter campaigns for a game ever. But they've been doing monthly releases.
The updates have been very
as well
solid.
as here's gameplay, here's art, and it's more of that transparency, which is kind of it all comes down to they just didn't communicate very well at all. Whether it's them, whether it's Sony.
Yeah, that PR was terrible.
I did not like. Was it Yoshida that came out and kind of said, "Hey, Hello Games didn't have a PR person," and I want to be like. That's kind of what you guys were to a certain extent.
That's what you pay for.
And that was my issue. I think Sony threw them under the bus trying to, and I understand why to distance themselves from it, but I also feel like that hurts Sony too, because what if there's another indie developer that comes to Sony and says, "Hey, I want to do this game. This is my thought."
I think there are plenty of other indie developers. I think that I don't know. I just think the base idea and Sean Murray as a person was what caused that to fail. Like, I think that there are other people who are more straightforward.
Because if they come out instead of Subnautica in space, so essentially, I would have no issue with that game. Because that I would have an expectation. This is what it is. But they promise like these dogfights,
or even just using the phrasing, "Hey, this is what our expectation is. Like, we are going to do our best, like, to get this in the base game. This may be stuff that we have to
patch in
due to the nature of this game is the fact that a lot of it is just."
And how small of a team we are. Like, had he even come out and been, like,
happens.
with the launch notes. I mean, because you look at, like Division logs or like the Division patch notes or like Watch Dogs 2 patch notes or any of those ones where it's, pages and pages and pages and pages long, or like the new Dota 2 patch that just came out that completely changes the game. Like, even if they were just like, here's all the things that we are hoping to like patch in and like we're just going to be completely upfront with you guys. I think that this game still could have been what it is now, but not been as like
the big backlash.
Maligned.
Right. It sucks because they don't have an opportunity to bring that game back. And I think that game, I don't want to say it's dead because there are people who enjoy it.
Sure.
There are people out there that are enjoying the game, especially, and like I said, I did it after they did the update. I kind of was like, let me take a look. And the base building's cool, but it just
bums me out because I wish that there were more. You guys know how much I love space games,
Well,
and I just wish there were more. Like, I feel like that's almost going to put a bad taste in people's mouths for trying to do another really interesting space game.
And it also is the problem I ran into with it was the game loop got very boring very quick. Yeah. That was I guess the Division. I'm gonna use the Division because that's again the game I played the most this year. Is that game loop? You run and shoot enemies, get another wave, kill another wave, get a big guy, kill him.
That's like a roguelike,
yeah. It's a fun game loop, but there's enough variation in the environments that you're in versus. Granted, this thing was procedurally generated, but you land on a planet, there could be nothing there, and you're just like, and then you got to fly across and find these resources, and you're like,
to actually get off the planet.
It was more fun to land on planets where these kind of awful monstrosities were created, and they would just run around with like floppy penis heads or whatever in circles.
Or the planet that would kill you when you landed. I was like, okay, this sucks.
Where's
the
AI?
Yeah.
If it was just a zoo simulator, but with space, and all your job was just to go through and document all the different like space
animals,
animals,
be better that way.
That would have been a dope fucking game.
Time Machine VR style, where you just go in, like you said.
That would have been a fucking great game. I think.
I just think they didn't have a good premise to build what they wanted to build on. They were like, this is space exploration because you have these bajillion planets. Well, that sounds cool, but when every planet doesn't have much on it, you have the ocean that's a.
Give me 500,000 planets that are all
super detailed,
or even 1,000 planets that are super detailed.
And I don't want to say because I mean I'm sure that game is mathematically an incredible feat, and I do think that they get some sort of credit for how big they did technically make that game. But again, it's the ocean as deep as a puddle.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and knock one on the head by saying that I actually agree with your choice of disappointment of the year. It was the same for me. I paid the full $60, as did a lot of people. I pre-ordered the fucking thing.
We did a video on it because we're like, we don't want to do it.
And we enjoyed the first and if you think about it, that was the same for everyone. Like everyone enjoyed it for a very short period of time, and then it was just like, oh, it's this again, and again and again. So we'll nix my disappointment and move on to yours.
Cool. So my disappointment is not No Man's Sky.
I mean, I'm sure that disappointed you, but
I didn't actually play. I haven't played it.
Oh, really?
No, I had the collector's edition pre-ordered, the physical edition of it.
Smart man.
The $99 one, because I was like, I'm going to pick this up, and if I don't like it, this is a collector's item, and I can resell it.
What was in the collector's edition? Anything fun?
A really nice looking box, and like I think some art prints or something like that.
It was completely empty there. There was just nothing there.
Yeah, it was a digital code, and I was like, oh, this is fucking dumb. So I think my biggest disappointment The Division is probably one of the games that I think I'm most disappointed with this year, if only because I spent a lot of money on it. I like
how you looked at me when you said that. You're like, what's he going to say?
But I don't think it is my biggest. I have to make sure that I mention that the Division did disappoint me because I was really looking forward to it. I liked the pre-release.
A lot of people were.
I think my biggest disappointment this year was probably Hyper Light Drifter.
Really?
Yeah.
That's surprising because you were quite into that when it first came out.
It's one of my favorite games of the year. Not like top 10, but I would say it's an honorable mention. But it is also my biggest disappointment of the year because I backed that with like the first day it was out. It's the most I've ever put towards a Kickstarter.
Really?
And I spent.
So this is very personal in nature.
Yeah, that's why I'm scared with Yooka-Laylee because of that. I expect the Yooka-Laylee
took 3 years for this game to come out, 3 or 4 years or whatever. You know, the original trailer had like mechs that you could play as. It had like skill trees and all of this nonsense. What we got was a game that is definitely fun. Like the game is definitely challenging. There is a great aesthetic to it.
But it's not what you backed.
You get 5 bosses if you include like the last one. Some well-designed levels for sure. You get very small skill trees, but the mechs and a lot of those things that were originally in there, and a lot of the gameplay elements and some of the bosses that they had, like these gigantic, like screen-filling, like multi-tier, like Contra almost bosses, were nowhere to be found.
So, I mean, basically, it sounds like with a lot of with our disappointment, all of our disappointments this year is basically people overpromising. So if you're a game developer listening to this or watching us,
which I understand, like you gotta overpromise a little bit in the very beginning to get people interested in. All right, we are gonna put
make sure you can do something similar.
You gotta back up that smack
dog. And so. It just, the fact that it was a 4 years waiting
thing. Did they
thing,
explain that, by the way? Did they come out and say, this is why there's no longer giant bosses?
It was just really like, we realized, they did explain and realize that like through production that it wasn't actually going to be feasible to get those things done.
That's a shame.
Which is weird because it was like 5 times higher than the amount that they were asking for.
Right.
And so I enjoyed what was there, but it is disappointing in that I was expecting so much more, and like I played through the game once. I beat it in like 2 days because I was just very engrossed by it. The music is great. It is very much Zelda meets Dark Souls with like some roguelike elements.
So basically, anything with Dark Souls like features, Jordan is a fan.
I mean, yeah, we already knew that though. But I don't ever think I actually want to go back and play it again.
Interesting.
Like I got my PS4 copy.
It's been on quite a few sales recently as well, hasn't it?
It's $25 on the PlayStation Store or Steam.
That's full price.
Yeah, I paid right around $100 for my copy of it.
That makes a difference.
And so going into it and waiting 4 years with $100 of my money invested into it, I am very glad that they got something out there that is still good.
There is a product.
Yeah.
And it's still good. Like I can see them, going to a bigger developer like Sony or a producer like Sony or Microsoft or something like that. Hey, this is what we made with this. Can you guys give us a bigger budget and let us make this? So I would think that Hyper Light Drifter is probably my biggest disappointment.
Honorable mention for disappointment?
Sure.
I got one.
Honorable disappointment.
Mighty Number 9 came out this year. I
played it this morning, first time.
I didn't even play the game because of the reviews.
I'm a big old Mega Man fan, and that game was trash.
It got delayed.
Again, though, it's over-promising, isn't it?
Yes,
it's
basically
everyone expecting a next-generation Mega Man, and it wasn't that at all.
Actually...
the question is it over-promising or is it over-hype of people?
Definitely people need to temper expectations, but also it depends on how you are marketing it.
Yes.
And they were marketing it as the next Mega Man.
Yeah.
There's an interesting interview with the head director of Platinum Games, who also came from Capcom, which is the same company that who did Mighty Number 9 did, and he pretty much just slammed him at in one of his interviews, and he was like, he is not a games developer, he is a producer. He is not him going into this with this idea. He was like, I'm not surprised at all that this game turned out to be shit because he is not a game director. He didn't really have much to do with Mega Man. He made the character design, and that was about it.
Gotcha.
And so it was really interesting to see someone who actually intimately knew this guy and worked with him be like, I'm not fucking surprised.
He's riding on some weird coattails that aren't his.
Yeah. Yep. So
interesting.
So let's go to the happy part of this year.
Let's start. I say top 5 from 5 to 1.
I was gonna say, are we gonna go around each do 5 and then all the way down?
Yeah,
we're doing this. Cool.
Yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cool. And then then we also will do our few honorable mentions and of course the biggest surprise of the year. That'll be good. So number 5. Where do you want to start?
I get my list pulled up here.
I'll let Jordan start because I know you're itching
Jordan,
at the bit
you're a guest.
to do this.
You go first.
You go ahead.
Yeah, so number 5 for me, I spent a lot of time deliberating on how I should order this, and it might change over time as well.
It might change in the process of this podcast.
Well,
Mine has been, to be fair.
My top 2 keep flip-flopping, but, like, honestly, like, the number structure just goes to show, like, right now I'm enjoing this the most.
I was going to say, I think a lot of it depends on where you're at with the game, and as we know, a lot of times end of the year games tend to fall better because it's more recent in your memory.
Right. My number 5, though, is Let It Die. I was not at all... I love Suda51. I played every single one of his games that he's released, at least stateside. I saw this original trailer, and I didn't really like the art style. This was about 3 years ago.
I'm not sure I know this. Did Suda51 make this game?
Technically, Suda51 produced it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is by a different director, but it still has...
That
Grasshopper development, like, still has a very... It is Suda51's company, and so his shtick is ingrained in that company. I mean, your guy who is, like, your mentor... is named Uncle Death, who is,
skateboarding
Grim Reaper with 3D glasses and a Mexican accent.
Yep.
Like,
perfect.
Who calls you senpai.
Which I think...
that is perfect.
And so...
Good old Suda.
So it is... So it's a free-to-play game.
That's what got me was that skeleton character.
So, yeah, the skeleton character is great. So it's a free-to-play game. When I first originally heard that, I was like, I don't really like the way this sounds.
The second trailer, PSX, is what caught my attention.
Yeah, and they dropped it live at the event as well, which was kind of nice. It was one of those kind of have something for watching today.
Yeah. So for the uninformed, Let It Die is a roguelike free-to-play game with combat that is practically Dark Souls,
with
but
real cool weapons.
With cool weapons, but it's practically Dark Souls, maybe a little bit clunkier than that. So you are like this nameless character who wakes up out of a freezer, and there is this tower that you have that's randomly generated for the most part that you have to. It's about 30 floors that you have to get to, and in the lore, like the closer you get is like the closer to God or whatever. So. Your loop is, you go through these floors, fighting tougher enemies, getting weapons and armor that do degrade. You can then find blueprints to get you more weapons that have better durability, better attack power, so on and so forth. So there's research and development. There's blueprints that you can create. There are these tattoos that you can get that give you permanent buffs on your character. There is PvP in the way of Metal Gear Solid 5's base mechanic, where you can raid other people's bases to get resources, and you also have to set up defenses on yours. You have that Dark Souls element. You have the roguelike, where if you die, your character is actually there and becomes what they call a hater, who then you have to kill the hater.
Hater's gonna hate.
And so, like, the terminology is great, and the free-to-play mechanics actually are not really that intrusive, but it works in the guise of the game because the game that you are playing is actually set in an arcade. So you can back out of the game and go into an arcade and talk to Uncle Death and this other girl who gives you side quests, and this other guy who's playing like fighting games, and he gives you tips on how to play the game better.
Wow.
So it is an arcade. So when your free to play comes in with your tokens that you need to buy to continue further. So
I was going to say that I know there's microtransactions involved.
I've put $20 into it so far, but the thing is it's like, if you think about it in the like guise of an arcade, you paid back in the day to continue in an arcade. And so while I'm not necessarily saying free to play is like the best medium for anything, the fact that they are not like pay to win, it's pay to continue, which I think is a really good way to,
because it punishes the player for dying.
Well, not even necessarily punishes them, because it's a roguelike, so you kind of are anticipating losing something. But if you have really good blueprints, or you don't want to lose like your blueprints or your time that you put into leveling up a character, you can pay to do it. So it's not forcing you to buy.
How much is it to like continue? Do you know?
It's one of those coins. You can get like 10 of them for $5.
Okay, so it's not something insane where it's like $1.
No,
per coin.
You can get 30 for $13.
Okay.
So I put $20 into it, so I have like 45, 50 coins or whatever.
And think about it. I mean, if this game wasn't free to play, that's probably what it would be. It would be about $20, $25.
Well, it's by Gung Ho as well, who did Puzzles and Dragons and a bunch of other iOS freemium games that are actually pretty good. But the fact that it is a very clever game and is a very funny game, and the fact that it takes the free-to-play elements and does it in a way that isn't really intrusive, but instead I think
offensive.
adds to the the immersion of like what they're trying to tell, makes it a very it's the most fascinating game to come out in 2016.
I think it's partially because no, we were talking before about having over expectations. There's no expectations. It just kind of went boom.
My expectations were so like not even existent. Like I was just like, I don't give a fuck. About this game.
You know what developers should do? Make a really weird first trailer that you're like, what the hell is this? And then the second trailer would be like, here it is.
That's how this one was. It was a dude who ran around in his underwear and beat the shit out of a guy with a fucking spiked baseball bat. Like, you're like, okay, I don't know, but Suda 51, there's a skateboarding Grim Reaper. Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's my number 5.
I still love Lollipop Chainsaw.
Oh, Lollipop Chainsaw's great.
Yeah.
What about you?
Me, so mine's an interesting one because...
Has it changed in the time of this podcast?
I've been watching this. It hasn't really.
It has changed one tiny bit. Okay. It was between this and a different game, and I'll go into why I chose a different game next time. But this one is actually a VR game, which is the only VR game to crack my top 5 because it was the first... Yeah. No, I got that today. It was the first one that... And it's not the one you think it is.
It's Batman.
That's in my honorable mention list. No, it's actually Until Dawn: Rush of Blood.
Nice. Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be the Resident Evil demo, which technically isn't a game.
That's why I didn't put it in there, and that will be an honorable mention. Don't you worry. But as far as the game that blew my mind the most the first time, which I believe you were both witness to my first time playing that game.
Oh, I was witness to your first time.
Right, so that's creepy.
It's on the internet.
So, when I look down at my hands for the first time and I see that I not only have just hands, I also have arms, and they are moving perfectly with me. And, just that first cinematic feel of going through. And then the first time the inertia hit. Yeah. When I took that first drop, and I was like, holy shit, like that's not supposed to happen. And then those levels are so well designed. They have multiple paths creeping throughout them. The fact that they play back to the original Until Dawn, which was by itself a fantastic game. Yeah. And then you just the level of immersion that goes into that, it is the perfect one to show someone who's not afraid of things, Keegan.
Well, I would love that game if it's not horror.
Right.
That those systems they have in the game are fantastic.
Yeah. Right, and that's what I'm giving it more so praise for that than longevity, because even though I do replay it quite often, because of, again, it's that experience that you just want to have over and over again.
Do you try to beat your score? Is that what when you play? Or
it's more so for me right now. It's just trying to get further because those levels are hard. They get very hard.
Have you finished it?
No, I have not. But also, like, obviously, shooting in general, the scores and things like that do make it. And there's obviously different challenge levels, etc. So I think they were one of the first VR companies to jump on board with something that was as fully fledged or as close to a full game as I would consider, and also very cheap, $20. Can't argue with that for the experience. And I really, really, really enjoyed it, and I think that it deserves a place, in anyone's top 10 if they played it this year.
For me, because I had a few VR games on my list initially, and for me it was kind of hard because they don't. In my opinion, they don't stack up 100%.
I will say it's the only one in my top 5. There is some outside of that, but it's the only one in my top 5.
For me personally, it was hard to do it just because I look at Game of the Year a lot of times as enjoyability and investment in time and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So like, I played Batman, I played all these games, and I play them a lot. But VR, I feel like a lot of time I'm one and done.
Yeah. To be fair, though, you have not played this game.
That's true.
So
I know. I'm just that's just my
and I agree in sentiment, and I do think they are coming. There are games things like Rigs and things like that do have.
Rigs got a giant update today.
Free as well.
Rigs.
Yeah,
but a lot of games like that do make you come back and Drive Club VR, things like that. But Until Dawn was more for me. It was more kind of a gaming experience reason why I put it on the list more so than necessarily.
It's the one that made you go, holy shit, VR is real.
Yes.
Yeah. Which I understand.
I really enjoyed the Shark one, but at the same time, Until Dawn was the first one that I was like, I'm literally terrified. I can feel the inertia. I'm getting really fun enjoyment with these guns, and that the fact I can swap them out and look at them, and it was just, for me, it was a nice little package and a cheap one too. So
yeah.
Cool. So for me, mine are all like little kid games. It's awesome. Ratchet and Clank.
That's not surprising.
Ratchet and Clank, a grown-up game too.
I know, but Ratchet and Clank is my number 5. The reason being is I love my 3D platformers. You guys know I love Nintendo for that reason, because of the platforming, and I feel like Sony didn't have anything, and obviously now with Crash Bandicoot coming out, I'm even more excited. Yeah. But Ratchet and Clank kind of blew me away. I have never played a Ratchet and Clank game until this one. It was $40, which is why I picked it up. If it's $60, it would have been...
Surprisingly, you haven't really, considering that you enjoy those style of games so much. It's just the PlayStation thing.
Yeah, it's PlayStation thing. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But if it was 60, I probably would have picked it up, but I picked it up because it was 40, and I was like, let's try this and see what happens. I fucking loved that game to death.
Great pricing on that, too.
Yeah, it's got a PS4 Pro update.
Yeah, I don't have PS4 Pro.
Oh.
I'm the only one in the room that does.
Awkward.
That doesn't. But no, the little things like the Groovertron ball to make things dance. Like, I laughed hysterically when I played with that the first time. The weapons, which is what it's known for, as I know now. Just... It was the controls were really well done. The
pleasant surprise for someone that's never played it.
It was
gorgeous. It's a gorgeous game, too.
It is beautiful.
Which made me real sad because the movie sucked. Like,
I didn't watch the movie yet.
That might be one of my 2016 movies, too, is to watch Ratchet
Dude,
& Clank.
it's garbage. You don't want to watch it.
I'll still watch it.
But it was one of the game was so good that I was like, oh, this is going to be the first good video game movie. And it was not at all. But
that's nice. I like that you enjoyed that game that much because I wasn't sure if you would or not, based upon the fact that there's still a large amount of things like combat and stuff in it. But,
yeah, it's on my list of things to finish. The first time I ran into that boss, the big boss, I was like, oh shit, we got a boss here.
Make him less special?
We did actually. I think you were.
I was here for that. Yeah, because you were
here for that.
You're like, Jordan, this is like Dark Souls, and I was like, no.
It's just like Dark Souls.
But you did die a lot.
That game did real well. Obviously, presentation. So visually, as we said, it's stunning. The controls were super tight when it came to just doing what I wanted them to do. I very rarely had an issue where I couldn't jump somewhere or I would mistime it or whatever it may be.
They know how to make good levels.
And I love that. Level design was fantastic. Like
the mechanics were very interesting as well. Like even the way they did the puzzles, even the puzzles were kind of fun to do. Like throwing the bridges and things like that.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of... I'm trying to think what that game was. I guess I'm going to say like Banjo-Kazooie, but not really. It just reminded me a lot of going back to my childhood, which I think is why I have such a feeling for it, was I had not played a good 3D platformer in years.
Yeah.
Last one I think I played that was, and even then I don't think it's 3D platformer, was Mario Galaxy. I mean,
it still technically counts.
It is, but not the same way this one was.
That's great. That's awesome.
Ratchet & Clank was my number 5.
I can actually pick it up for less than $10, so I think I might actually buy that today.
Oh, really?
Ratchet & Clank.
Well, yeah, it's $15 at Best Buy, and I have their gamer, or it's $20, and I have their gamer rewards, so it's $15.
I think
because you got rid of.
I would just pay.
I got rid of Amazon because fuck them. And then I also have a $5 credit because I purchased something there, so I can get it for about $10.99. So
I highly recommend. I need to finish it.
Well, I played the whole entire original series, and I love that franchise.
It's on my list of games to go back and play. As you guys know,
it was very, very pretty. I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed watching it as well.
Yeah. So
all right, number 4 for you.
Number 4.
Cool. So number 4 for me could almost go on as well. One of the biggest surprises, Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 is a game that I have spent a lot of time on.
Do you prefer the multiplayer or story? Or is it kind of well balanced?
So it's well balanced. Okay. That storyline is single-handedly one of the best single-player storylines I've played.
I've been told that, and I'm trying to finish it because I don't ever finish stories.
It is 6 hours long, but it is the best and craziest fucking 6 hours. And like the art design and again the level design when we talk about really good level design, the motion.
I think the wall running in that game is what surprised me the most of how natural it felt.
Well, just everything feels good in that game. Yes. Like that game there are definitely some rough edges in terms of like presentation. Like you can tell that in terms of like compared to Battlefield 4, Call of Duty, whatever. Like Battlefield 4 is leaps and bounds better in terms of like overall like resolution and like all those things. But in terms of art design and level design, this game is leaps and bounds and better than all of those.
I think what really hurt this game this year, which makes me real sad, is it fell between Battlefield 1 and it fell between Call of Duty.
The thing is, no first-person shooters, like none of those games are selling as well as they thought. So I think Titanfall 2 is doing fine comparatively.
Yes.
Because no one's doing well.
Yeah, Call of Duty's on what, 25
I like to think it's a similar case of the Assassin's Creed 2 thing, where after the first one having a moderate amount of success, the second one really blew it out of the water because they added that single player that everyone wanted, but they added it in spades.
And they also stayed focused on the multi. They didn't let the multiplayer suffer because they had to
exactly.
That was my concern.
And multi-platform as well, which is important. That they actually released it for everyone.
It's just weird. I don't know if they're continuing that series just because it sold less than the first.
It'll continue.
I think they will.
It'll continue.
I think
they're trying.
I think post-sale demand will actually be quite good.
Their player base is still pretty strong, but the multiplayer is a lot of fun too. So that was one of the biggest things that I was worried about because I'm not good at competitive.
Do you have a game mode you tend to play?
I do a lot of bounty hunt and attrition.
I'd say attrition is what we play.
pilot versus pilot is also really fun too, because
just hard.
I do play as Tone, so like a lot of people hate that because Tone is kind of easy mode in that game, but I enjoy Tone. I've gotten good at bending her rockets. I also do Ronin.
Ronan's my shit.
Yeah.
That game is just so much fun, and even if I'm not at the top of the list, which I actually do pretty okay, I was worried because I'm not good at competitive shooters. And especially ones that are fast like that. Like, I'm still not, like, I watch videos of guys online where it's like, they're on a wall, headshot with a sniper rifle, and then they, like, shoot their hook and, like, karate kick a dude across something, and then they summon their Titan and it blows up 6
and you're
other
like,
Titans.
I'm gonna line up this hook shot. Okay, I'm going. Oh, there's a guy there.
And I'm like, I punched a dude, and I'm pumped about that, but I still feel like a fucking badass.
And you have a lot of fun doing it.
Every single time I play that game. And yeah, I feel great about it. And the fact that everything is free in that game. I did buy a bag of Doritos to get one of the codes for it because I'm a fucking asshole. I regretted every chip that I ate.
I have the same feeling
that.
as you with that game because I've very rarely, except for probably Halo 3 was the one like I would be top of the list all the time because I play the game constantly. I never would be at the top of the list of any shooter. But even if I'm mid to bottom, I'm like I mean it sucks to lose, but at the same time you're like I'm having a good time doing this.
Yeah, it's fun. I also think that it has the best party making system of anything to be able to have like your clan and be able to have matches made inside that clan and then have you have multiple ones that you can switch between being active.
I love that the primary server is almost always Dick Cypher Harambe.
Yeah. Well, that's the one you joined during the beta.
I know.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Well, like, I have like the Giant Bomb one, and so I played with like Jeff Gersman and those guys on Giant Bomb before.
Giant Bomb and IGN.
And I think that's really cool. But I think being able to have that clan and be able to play.
You should join the Level 2 Legion. We got one.
I will. But I think that is the. There are sometimes things that we talk about in terms of like what are things that a game brings that may be something in the future. I hope that party system continues into other games because it is so much better than just going into a lobby and just waiting. Because if you can go through other people with other people who kind of are in a similar mindset, I think you have a better time. So
and I think it's funny because like I said, I don't do first person shooters except for I get 1 to 2 and Star Wars has been that one. Even I play that third person all the time, but like. That is my first-person shooter that I'm playing right now, and I probably will continue playing it for a while because I enjoy the gameplay. It reminds me a lot of Halo. The only weird part to me is I've not played a first-person, like one of those shooters since Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah.
So I'm used to like people coming in hallways, not coming from the sky.
Yeah.
That was the hardest part for me to get used to is like you got to look up now.
Playing Titanfall 2 made me so much better at other games like Overwatch and stuff like that because I have started not just staring straight ahead of me, like I'm constantly surveying everything else. And so playing a faster and more agility-focused game like that, when I go back to like a character-based game like Overwatch, I got a 60-player kill streak with D.Va one game, and I was on fire for almost all of it. Like, best game I've ever played in my life, and I think I can owe a lot of that to Titanfall. So yeah,
because you become more aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, Titanfall makes you better at other games.
Yeah, so Titanfall 2 is probably, and that single player, like I said, has got one of the best mechanics. One of the mid to late game levels is one of the coolest levels. Like. And a lot of people compare it to like Half-Life in terms of creativity, and I would agree with that. Even the original BioShock, this game I think is in terms of fun, well-designed levels up there with the greats.
I really need to finish that.
Yeah,
like I've never finished. I don't think I finished the Halo campaign once.
It's a good game. You should definitely.
I want to finish it.
I would recommend it. I would also say that game is ripe for DLC because you have not only single-player DLC that could add a good couple hours to it, but also maps and things.
So the problem I have with map DLC though is to divide your player base. I mean that's
it's all free though.
Oh, did they come out and say that?
It's since the initial, like the onset of that game, they said every single piece of DLC is
then
free.
I don't have an issue with it because that's the issue I had with like Halo and even Star Wars.
There's no season pass for this game at all. It is just like even the collector's edition,
which is again extra added value.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, when you
wait,
buy,
they're doing things the way they used to do it. Where you bought a disc and that was it.
And that's also why I want to also like support those guys.
And when you play it, you get like if you were a Modern Warfare 2 fan or a Modern Warfare 1 fan, even you get.
Call of Duty feel?
You get the Respawn vibe off of it
Which
as well. It just feels
because they're working on Star Wars now, right? Respawn.
They might be.
That's their next project. So I wonder how long it'll be.
Shit out of a.
I wonder how long it's going to be until then.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that's my number. That's my number 4. It's a great game.
What about you, Tom?
My number 4 is an indie. A lot of indies in my top 5 this year, which is a change of heart for me because usually I don't play that many of them.
Because you're hanging out with me and Jordan.
Mine actually only has 1 indie, so this is the opposite.
Mine has 2.
Nice.
Yeah, mine has at least 2, and they are. It's interesting because I honestly, when you guys told me write top 10 for this year, I sat down. There goes your phone. I sat down and I was like, I don't think I can think of 10 games of a high caliber that I played this year. I had a bad year for gaming, and it wasn't that there was some absolute gems in the middle, which is why top 5 feels better to be able to do that. And I do have some good honorable mentions, but honestly, there's a lot of things that came out that I just had no interest in. Like I had no interest in Overwatch, Battlefield 1, Call of Duty. I had no interest in either of those at this point. Titanfall 2, I only bought because it was on sale.
Call of Duty is free right now. If you want to play the first free 2 levels of the campaign. No, first 2 levels. Well, yeah, but first 2 levels of the campaign plus.
I heard the campaign's actually pretty okay in that game, so I might give that a go.
I died a lot in the first. I'm playing on a regular, and again, I'm not a first-person shooter, so I should have done it.
You are not a first-person shooter. You're right. You are a human being.
Yeah.
Also,
I'm having a lot of fun with that
one.
I
think VR spoiled me a bit.
Yeah.
I think VR spoiled me for flat games.
As I say, Tom doesn't play flat games anymore.
It's
I still like flat games.
Yeah, and I do. There is the ones that have still been impressing me, but I feel like ever since I put that headset on, I've never looked at them quite the same way again. Yeah. Well, no, that would be really horrible and scary. But there was a couple indies that did really well this year, and this one based off narrative alone, and the fact that it's one of the only indies that I played from start to finish in one setting and could not put it down whatsoever was actually Oxenfree.
Yes,
I love Oxenfree.
Yeah, that game was a lot of fun.
So I think the writing for that game was out of this world. The fact that
and it had so many twists and turns.
Yeah, that's and there's just so much of it. I mean, they're constantly talking, so that you have to be on it all the time. And
if you miss something, you could potentially miss something down the road, or if you do something else,
you can play that whole game without saying anything. Though. There's actually a trophy for that.
There's so many branching paths. The characters were super interesting. They fleshed them out really well.
Gorgeous art style.
Gorgeous
art style. The
intro's
a little weird. I'm not gonna lie. The whole boat
it makes
thing,
sense if you finish it. Yeah.
Well,
but it's kind of. I
watched Wade finish it.
Right. So you kind of get a little bit of it, but it's definitely a surprise, and I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. But it was almost like reading a book in game form. Yeah. And
but
it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard.
But it had enough game elements that
exactly. But it wasn't like it was all puzzle, and it wasn't anything that it was just like timing for jumping or whatever.
I don't spoil it if anybody hasn't played. Do you remember walking into the cave in that first moment of that thing coming up? You're like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, well, I think we got that far when we played it for the show.
I think even later with some of the characters and what happens, and kind of how terrifying some of those scenarios
they definitely deal with some
game.
Scenes that are a little bit outside the scope of what I would expect from many video games.
And it's also
dark.
very, very well done for. There's a mechanic in the game that I did not see coming, and when it came and it continued to happen, you're like, okay, this is.
It's actually done by some of the Walking Dead people from the first up series of Walking Dead, and then BioShock. I think did some of the writing.
What do you think that team's going to do next? Because they can't make Oxenfree 2.
I don't care because I'll buy it, whatever it is. Because they put that much trust in me. Very unique game. Never seen a game quite like it as far as how it's laid out, and it, like I said, the fact that almost the entirety of the game is based upon just these kind of consistent thought bubbles going on throughout, and the story underlying is amazing.
I hope the dialogue option with that is something that may be bigger, like because a Final Fantasy or some shit like that, or like something like The Witcher or Red Dead Redemption 2. Like if there's just an option where you could just like leave a conversation and not.
My favorite's when they react to you too.
Yeah. So I think that is a really cool thing that I would like to see.
Could you imagine having that dialogue kind of gameplay loop or whatever it's called system mixed with the Last Guardian animal system?
That's probably what the Last Guardian animal system is.
That would be fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Oxenfree blew me away as far as indies go. Wasn't the number 1 indie, but we'll get to that. So number 4 for you, Mr. Keegan.
Number 4 for me. Is Overwatch. Speaking of Overwatch, it's funny because I've told the story before, but when that game first came out, Jordan was like, "You guys need to play it. You need to play it." And I was like, "No." Me and Tom were both like, "No." But
you guys were vehemently against it.
Again, I was partially, like I said before, I think it's because I had other things going on. I didn't have time to invest in that character.
But you guys were like, "No, fuck that game." Like, dude, I'm stupid. And I was like, "Guys, you're stupid."
I'm a crazy ass Mercy. I can heal people like nobody's business now. I've been playing now with more of the other characters. I've been doing a lot of Roadhog. Is my
honest question. Do you think the memes helped it?
No, I think that game just being good helped it.
I feel like there was a lot of memes that were going around based on Overwatch and Overwatch characters that kind of almost helped it propel forward a little bit more in popular culture, especially with kids and stuff.
Maybe, but I think the biggest thing is that
the game is done really well.
It's definitely done well. I don't deny that.
Think like Paragon that came out at the exact same time, and that thing got fucking just shit.
Paragon,
because
no
of this.
memes though. What I'm saying,
there are memes.
Of Paragon?
Yeah.
Not that I've seen.
Well, or Battleborn. You look at Battleborn, which literally came out the exact same week, which is even more meme filled because like that game is written by Gearbox, who is like Meme King.
Right.
And that was a travesty. I think Overwatch...
I think the big thing that Overwatch has is its characters, character diversity, and the balance. One of the things I told David the other day when we were playing is what I love about Overwatch is that everybody's on the same playing field. You could be better with one character, but you don't have an upgrade system that makes you better and have, like, my healing doesn't heal more because I'm level 32 with Mercy versus...
And we talked about never feeling bad, since the fact that there isn't even, like, a hierarchy. Like, you see your own kills and stuff like that, and then there's the medal system afterwards. Or
I feel bad because I know I did shit sometimes.
But no one else is going to be like, oh, you fucking piece of shit. Like, you didn't heal me. You're like, okay, I didn't play the best game.
Everybody yells at the healer, I've learned if we win, the healer usually gets voted the MVP. If we lose, everybody yells at the healer.
But still, generally, you feel good playing that game.
Yeah. I enjoy it. And like I said, to me, what kind of brought me... the free weekend is when I got back into it, but the character design... I loved a Junkrat just because you remind me of the Joker.
Yeah.
Like, character-wise. Yeah. But Mercy, A, she's gorgeous. B...
she's
a healer.
She's a pretty Swedish lady.
I'm very upset I didn't get the witch skin.
I got that one. That was my first one.
I'm very upset.
So Overwatch for you. I'm still not that much of a fan. I played the beta, wasn't that impressed with it, to be honest. And I probably, if I put enough time in, I would.
I skipped the beta because I didn't want to get into it, and then I just decided to buy it because I saw reviews were good.
I did the free weekend.
I put like a good 25 to 30 hours into it, which for a multiplayer game, only putting 30 hours into just solely multiplayer is a lot for me.
And the other thing, it's a social... I think it's funny because I don't know why I didn't like it, because it's a social game. Yeah. It's very much what I am. It's
absolutely, it's a good game to play with friends.
The problem I have right now, though, is I always played healer and nobody else likes playing healer, so David's learned to play a healer when we play, so I can be somebody else. I was like, because nobody wants to play healer. But when you do fucking fantastic as a healer, you're like, I am God right now.
Yeah.
I had one the other day, not to sidetrack, but I had one the other day where we were about to lose the point, and I think 3 people went down, and I had my ult, and I go in, and I died after. But I rezzed everybody, and I was like, that's got to be play of the game. Yeah. It didn't.
Even if it doesn't, you still know that you did good.
Yeah, I was like, David was like, oh shit, everybody's back. I was like, yep, I'm dead, though.
Yeah, sorry.
But I did my job. Cool. So.
Alrighty. So, number 3 for you, Jordan.
Number 3 for me. This is a tough one for me because I wanted it to be my game of the year. But it's Dark Souls 3.
There you go.
DS3, as they call it.
It's interesting because this is the first year... So I played Dark Souls 2, or kind of played Dark Souls 2 when it originally came out, but I didn't really get on that train until, like, Sins of the First Scholar, the, like, kind of ultimate edition of
Was
it.
Was Bloodborne your game of the year?
I
know you liked that game.
Last year, Bloodborne was my game of the year.
Or was Witcher? Bloodborne was? I can't remember.
Bloodborne was, then The Witcher was the second for me.
It's like, because I know you're big into both.
Yeah. And I really, I love this game. I did a 24-hour stream for charity on the channel with it. The aesthetic of it is a, I will never do anything like that again. It is a great Dark Souls game, but that's about all it is. It doesn't actually do anything to push that franchise forward. But what is there is still some of the best gameplay you're going to get out of the Dark Souls franchise. Some of my favorite boss fights of the whole entire franchise are in that. Dark Souls 1 is still my favorite of that series.
I remember playing Dark Souls 3. I played an early build of it. Yeah. Because I went to Wizard World, and I sent you a message like, hey, guess what I'm playing?
And I was like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. It was really cool because it ended up being the first, I want to say level, but first area with the dragon, and I was like, this is, like, I understand from playing it why you like it. I don't like dying that much. Yeah, and that's my issue.
The art design in the third one is probably the best of the franchise because they took a lot of the elements of Bloodborne, like a lot of the gothic kind of horror with it, but also mixed it into the high fantasy setting.
Yeah. I was going to say, do you think that you said that it wasn't different enough? Do you think Bloodborne was their offering as far as a different style of Dark Souls game, and they wanted to keep this more similar to the previous generation?
Yes, but I also think that they tried enough new things with Dark Souls that I just think that they didn't push the envelope enough, because they have like the like the alternate kind of like ultimate attacks for certain weapons and things like that, and they have like whips and claws and other different weapon types, and all it really was that they brought in terms of change was like weirder levels and those ultimate attacks. And I just kind of maybe wanted to see more in terms of like they really kind of nerfed magic builds, so you really couldn't go that route.
And no one can ever say that you didn't put enough time in, because we personally know you put at least 24 in.
No, I mean I put about 50 hours into that
Did you go
game.
back and start over?
No, that's what I need to do. Is I need to actually go back and start over, because I missed a lot of side content.
You were completely exhausted by the end of that stream.
I hated everything.
Yeah.
I actually hated
Jordan,
that game.
Hey Jordan.
You sort of got
Exclamation point die.
Exclamation point die.
That's 10 cents. Get good.
That's
still. By the way, that's still in Nightbot. Somebody did it the other day.
Awesome.
And it was still there. I was like, oh.
So like that game still will. Dark Souls games are ones that I can always go back to because they are kind of ageless almost, in the same way that I think a lot of like the Zeldas are for people.
I was surprised at, not that it's colorful, but how much more color Dark Souls had versus Bloodborne. Because Bloodborne, one of the reasons I didn't like Bloodborne
had a lot of purple and oranges.
Yeah, it was Halloween.
I'm excited to try it again, to be honest, because I did try it when you lent it to me, and I got pretty far, but then there was nothing that grabbed me and just made me like kick me in the teeth and say play me again.
I remember getting your text messages like,
it
took me 32 times to beat this guy, but I fucking did it.
Well, the DLC for it, I was just like, guys, I want to do a quick click on it, or a quick bite on it, but I don't actually know if I can beat this boss. And then later I was like, I fucking beat the boss. But yeah, so Dark Souls 3 is my number 3, which was a really tough thing for me to ultimately concede that spot, because I wanted it to be.
If you know Jordan at all, everything he compares to is Dark Souls.
I can actually fully feel Jordan's pain in saying those words, because he is the biggest Dark Souls fan.
I mean, I'm getting a Dark Souls tattoo, so.
Are you?
At some
I have
point,
to show you.
Praise the sun, bitch.
I have to show you the Dark Souls cosplay that somebody did the other day.
Does it have boobs?
No, it doesn't. It's a dude, but it's really well done.
It still have boobs.
Boob souls.
It's real well done.
I'd play boobs.
Boobs have souls.
All right.
So that's my 3.
So
what's your 3?
Number 3 for me is actually one that I assume is on your list somewhere. I assume it's nowhere near your list. It's XCOM 2.
It's a great game.
Do you have the PC version, right?
Yeah.
You have the.
I need to rebuy the PS4 version, because I can't play the PC version because the settings are just.
That is exactly what happened to me. I bought it on the PC, or on Mac rather, when I first got it. Graphics card was chugging. Couldn't really play it. I tried it with the Steam Pad, linking it to the machine, but the Steam Pad is the worst thing in the universe. And in the end, I was like, when I saw it on PS4, I was like, I gotta do it. I really want to play it. I love the original. I have to do it. So I picked it up again, for another fucking $60 or whatever. And I'm glad I did, because playing it with the PlayStation controller completely changed the game for me, made it so much more enjoyable. The amount of work that's put into that game, it is hard but fair, and I just think that it's one of those addictive style games that brings you back to it time and time again.
Looking at it, because I'm not a huge fan of RTS games or anything like that, which...
Do you remember the time I played it on the Quick Bite and I actually didn't die, and you were really upset because
I
didn't die?
Yeah, I wanted you to die.
I wanted you to die as a character in my game.
I remember you naming, it was me, Walker.
Well, I did all of you guys, and I wrote like actual paragraph long, because that was the big thing with XCOM 2, was that you could create the characters like a character pool, and it would randomly generate it into the story.
And you do feel like you get more attached to these. They are slightly more different looking than the original game. Like there's some characters that are just created, like that dude's gonna kick ass. Like,
there's just something about those type of games for me in general that just I think it's because when I play video games I don't like thinking. I mean, it's kind of like when I watch movies. That's why I love animation, because I don't. To me, that's I can shut my brain off. The only time.
Yeah, and you definitely do die a lot playing that game. You learn lessons fast, and you will repeat the same level over and over and over.
For a little while, that's all you had on your PS4 whenever I come over.
But there's a great feeling with the doomsday clock or whatever. I got down to like having 30 minutes left, and I happened to do something that completely like turned the tides and got me an extra 2-3 days. Yeah. And it was the best feeling to all of a sudden be like, how do I need to adjust my resources to make sure that I don't lose this game right now?
Right.
And so the game does have 100% like a really good feeling to it.
Yeah, I would recommend anyone that fancies a bit of turn-based skillage, but also I guess micromanaging as well, because of all the resources and development and things you have to keep an eye on. I fully recommend XCOM 2 to you.
To you.
What's your third one?
My number 3 is a game that came out recently, and I'm kind of upset because I've not got a chance to play it as much as I want to. Overcooked, because it's couch co-op. Me and David have been saying for months now that we need to have a day where we both hang out. The holiday DLC's out. I love the concept of that game. I love the couch co-op of that game. Tom knows I'm Gordon Ramsay when I play that game. But
you fucking undercooked it.
It harkens back to the time where I'd sit on the couch with my family and play video games.
Yeah.
Mainly my sister, because she was the only one there. My parents didn't play. Mm-hmm. But it's just like one of those things where it's such a simple concept, but there's a lot of strategy that goes involved. When me and David played, the first time we played it, we were sitting on the couch. We'd play the level 1 to 2 times. We'd sit back, okay, what is our game plan? This is what happens to the level. This is what we're making. This. How do we go and attack this?
There's a surprising amount of strategy.
Yeah, which I just said I don't like thinking in video games, but every so often there's games that make me like, okay.
Yeah.
And we started. It's also one of those games is the fact that like, I initially when I play a game I go through it and get done, and then from there I'll go back and try and 3-star it.
Yeah.
So we did that. We got to a certain point where like we got to the ice level, and David's like, I can't do this right now. So we went back and replayed the other ones again.
Very fun game though. Great mechanics. Great level of pacing.
The only issue I have with it, and if I'm going to be honest about it, is the controls sometimes a little frustrating picking up and putting things down.
That almost makes it more fun though.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because mistakes.
You also yell at your friends a lot.
But yeah, well that's the whole thing though, isn't it? The mistakes are what makes it fun.
I played it the other day because you can take the controller and split it in half and play 2 characters with 1 controller. That makes your brain go, holy shit, what's happening? Like it's real complicated.
It would be difficult.
But
Tale of Two
I
Brothers
really
or
want to
whatever it
I
was.
want to get 4 people in a room and play that together because I think it'd be a blast.
Chaos.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my number 3 is Overcooked, and I think it's one of those games, an indie game that needs to
would be surprise of the year for me, one of the surprises of the year, because I was not expecting anything from a cooking.
I mean, it is a surprise.
But we did have
I think I mentioned it to you guys forever ago.
You did.
And
well,
then
I was gonna say I watched Kind of Funny. So Greg Miller said something about it, and that's when I was like, okay.
Yeah, Jordan had said it to me previously and had recommended that we play it, and we did very well.
Yeah.
We did with that video. So thank you.
Gordon Ramsay. I yelled at you a lot.
You sure
Tom,
as fuck
beat my meat.
Number 2.
So number 2. So I kind of mentioned to you guys that my number 1 and 2 have been kind of like flip flopping the past few days.
You gotta make a decision now, boy.
At least for this podcast, it'll probably change tomorrow again. But I think right now my number 2 is going to be Final Fantasy 15.
Okay.
When
I wrote my list originally, it was my number 1.
Which I find funny because I feel like you both wrote it at number 1, and I don't know. So my perspective is I don't know if you had enough time to do it, or if it's just because you wanted it to be that good.
No, I spent.
It's a
30
combination.
minutes
I know you have
so
now.
far, yeah.
You have now, but that's what I'm saying. Like when we came up with this idea, it would just have come out. So I was like, how can it be your game of the year if it's
fair.
It's fresh?
That's a fair comment. And I think there was a certain extent of me willing it into that spot at some point. But yes.
I think it's a great game. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's.
And the reason why it's at number 2 is because of the story DLC stuff. So,
is the story DLC paid?
No, so it's free for DLC, but what it is there's a character in the later portions of the game that they kind of just throw in there. There's really no explanation of his backstory or why he is motivated to do anything. And he just kind of comes in, does something big, and then leaves. And so they're adding more motivation for him. They're adding fleshed out dialogue scenes, fully voiced scenes, all this stuff.
So quite important.
They're taking stuff from Kingsglaive in the very and putting it in the beginning of the game. So they're adding out. The way the game just starts is you find out you're a prince and you have a broke down car, and that's about the start of the game.
Yeah.
And then you get to explore.
Quite literally.
But you literally don't have any other motivation other than, all right, well, I got to get to this marriage thing. But like if you watch Kingsglaive, if you watch Kingsglaive, it's like, okay, like he is trying to stop a war from breaking out. Like that is what has to happen with him getting married.
There was a lot of side content with that.
Yeah.
Here's a question about the story DLC. Is obviously it's not out yet, so you may not say for sure, but is it one of those things where, because you said you stopped because you knew it was coming. What if you had already gotten past that point? Do you have to go replay the whole game again, or can you go back?
Well, the thing is, I've played through almost all the Final Fantasies at least 2 to 5 times.
I know. I'm just saying, to somebody like me, if it was my first one, that would.
Yeah.
If I'd bought it at launch and gotten that far, and then
it's a little bit of a shame.
It just
that
sucks.
It would take so long for that to come to life.
But the thing is,
or if they'd said it at day 1, like this is coming out this date, FYI.
But this is not the first time Square Enix has done this with the Final Fantasy. Most of the main ones have had an international version, which has released additional story content and additional side content. 7 had it. 10 had it, 12 had it, and then look at Final Fantasy 6 and a lot of the SNES ones. They have been re-released God knows how many times, adding additional cutscenes, all these other things, and you had to pay for those things. This is the first time where they have just put it in for free. So like, it is not outside of the realm of peculiar behavior for them.
It's not shitty because it is free,
yeah,
and it is kind of what they do. But at the same time, like if you happen to have gotten that
or you
far
didn't
in,
like for me,
and you only intended to
Yeah.
do one playthrough, then it's a little.
Yeah.
So that's why it's knocked down to 2. But in terms of like why it's so high up, that game feels good and plays great. That combat system is one of the most fun combat systems I have had the pleasure of partaking in. You know, you hold on a button, but then you also have your timing dodges. You have link attacks that you can do with people. It is fun. The game is gorgeous. The sense of scope in it rivals God of War in a lot of ways, which is something I've never seen. Like the first time I summoned Rama, and the fact that he is a giant like colossus as opposed to in 7 where he's the same height as you.
Right.
I would love to see how big something like that would be in VR.
Yeah, I know, right? That would be so cool. It is also the biggest mess of a game because it is such a disjointed game, and
The story's a little out there.
the story's out there. The gameplay, like the side quests, are kind of boring, but I still love every moment that I'm in that game.
Yeah.
And I think that the fact that it is more than the sum of its parts, because the sum of its parts aren't that great.
And I think part of that could be to them trying to get new people in and trying to keep the old people happy because
And they do appreciate Western development, and that's very much like the Witcher type style of gameplay. But the fact that I can still love every second of that game, despite thinking that
Despite the flaws,
not really that good of a game in a lot of ways, still means that it is a good game.
Yeah.
And for that, it is weirdly endearing, and I am very glad to see that it is doing well, because it means maybe there will be more of these weird Final Fantasies.
so there won't be the Final Fantasy.
No, they never are.
Yeah.
So that's my number 2.
Fantasies.
hello, me again.
Hello, it's Tom.
Hello.
All right.
What's your
my number 2 is it's a game, and it's weird that it's number 2 on my list, but like I said, it was thin pickings for me for a lot of it, but I'm giving it number 2 spot for a very specific reason. This game did not at all stick the landing.
Firewatch.
Yes.
Yep.
So
It was an honorable mention on my list.
Firewatch
It
for
just
me was
flopped at the end.
See, I like the ending, so that's where I disagree
so
with you guys.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
I think the interplay, the narrative, the dialogue, which I'm always a fan of dialogue in games, and it is incredibly well written in this game.
They're making a Firewatch movie. Do you know that?
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
they're making a Firewatch movie.
But the story was mega engrossing. Twists and turns were beautiful. Just the interplay between you and this kind of random entity that you don't really know
It's
if
just a
she's
voice.
real or not, or all this kind of stuff. And the way that they did it with the night and day dynamics, all these elements just made it for me one of the most interesting and definitely impressive indie games that I've ever played, because it felt like a AAA game.
Have you gone back and played it with the audio logs from the developers?
I have not.
You should.
I probably will.
They have commentary like behind the scenes of why they did some things.
I would like to
fantastic.
I would like to do that. I had a great time with it, and I think a lot of them, even like things like the climbing mechanics, like hooking up ropes different places, things like that, very simple but very effective. The fact that sometimes they break,
and that art style in that game,
the art style was
absolutely
I think
beautiful.
the only weird part is the Wreck-It Ralph hands.
See, I like the regular Ralph fans.
I mean, it was cool art style. I had an issue with him climbing in his Wreck-It Ralph arms.
I
want
don't
to see
know.
what
I
his
thought
his stubby finger.
I'd love to see what it looked like a full shot of.
I thought it was
pictures
slightly
of them, so,
adorable.
yeah.
But also, the underlying story, the underlying sort of tale of kind of this guy out in the wilderness, like trying to
Figure out-
come to terms with things. But the ending, I liked it, didn't love it, and that's the only problem that I had with it. Was that I didn't think it was a bad ending by any means. I would still say play through it because the ending is good, but at the same time, it is not quite what it was building up to be.
Yes.
And I think they could have done so
the
much
game
more
also
with
took-
that ending.
At some point, took a hard left turn. I don't want to spoil too much, but I found something before I was supposed to find it, and you're
Right.
like, what is happening?
I wish
Because I
there was-
streamed that game.
It ended up being
Official
too
ones.
grounded in reality sometimes, I think. I kind of wish that there were more
Some supernatural
X-Files-y
elements or something
elements
to it,
to
yeah.
and-
That's where I thought it was going. With something.
or just something even more horror-y. Because, like,
Yeah.
you finally, near the end of the game, start delving into, like, this really dark tunnel, and, like, things start getting kind of creepy.
Yeah.
And
I was
then...
scared.
And then, yeah, like...
But it's more like an
everything's
emotional
grounded
gut
in
punch than
reality.
anything. Yeah.
I feel like it went. I think my problem with the ending is it had this great build up. Then you have obviously the climax moment. I'm not gonna say what it is, but you have that climax moment. And then I feel like all of a sudden it's like, and we're done.
Yeah.
Like it's like
Yeah, there wasn't much in the way of
wasn't-
epilogue.
yeah, there
was it
wasn't, like-
prologue, epilogue? Which one's at the end?
prologue is
beginning.
before. Yeah,
that makes sense.
There was I feel like it was like, okay, and now you're done with this game. There wasn't much of a build down.
Yeah, because they took so long to build into it as well, with all the kind of little like hints about his past and the reasoning.
I almost enjoyed that, like in the sense of since it was so grounded in reality. I liked it because that's how real life is sometimes. Like you don't necessarily get a nice epilogue to like a storyline or like a friendship
sometimes
that you have with
just
someone.
End.
Sometimes things are just shitty.
Yeah.
And like that's why I enjoy that ending, despite it not being what I wanted. I still am like, okay, at least like it was just.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not mad at it, but at the same time, I feel like there is like if they would have brought in supernatural elements or something along the ride, it could have been a bit longer.
I wish Cthulhu was in it. That would have been great.
I still think it's one of those games I think everybody should play.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I had a fun time streaming it. Like I said, I did it.
And I knew literally nothing about it until the day it was on the store, and you two were like, "Oh yeah, that's good, get that."
Well, we did the quick bite on it too.
Yeah, exactly. That was the day I discovered it existed.
Yeah.
So I am
very rarely to me and Jordan finding a game we both like.
Yeah, but it was truly a masterpiece of indie gaming, and also a good commentary for games as art or escapism in general, which is, like you said, one of the reasons why you play games. So Firewatch was number 2 for me.
More BioShock developers on that game too.
Yeah. Number 2 for me. The two I have left of kind of like you guys have been flip flopping. It's like one versus the other. Two bipolar opposites of the spectrum. Number 2 for me is The Division.
Nice.
The reason we talked about...
I am surprised.
We talked about it a little bit earlier.
You never mentioned that game before. What is it?
Yeah, we talked about it a little earlier. Obviously, I play that game constantly. It's weird. I very rarely tough out a game that has a lot of bugs just because it frustrates. Like, there was a moment where it just got to the point where I was like, I can't play this game. Like, we were trying to do an incursion, and there's an invisible wall that I can't get through to finish what I need to do. When I was like, fuck you, Ubisoft, fix this. Once they fixed it, I was like, okay, cool. But that game, for what I think partially for me, what got me into that was the New York City setting. Being from New York, seeing these areas. I won't forget the first time I did the Times Square mission. I was like, this is Times Square. Like, this is cool. Obviously, it's condensed, kind of like Watch Dogs in San Francisco. But to me, that's what grabbed me. And
that was that was a console seller for you, wasn't it? That was one of the reasons why you bought your
PS4
was for The Division.
It didn't come out when I got the PS4.
Not at all, but
it was.
But still played other great
games. A defining
games
reason.
Yeah. But it's just one of those things where that game was the reason I wanted to get the PS4, and it looked so good, and I was like, okay. And I think what really, really, really hooked me, because, again, very rarely do I get into these RPG elements where you're building up your gear, but once you're in it, and now I understand it, you're in it. Like, we now go on constantly, like, I got to make sure I get the highest gear. Because right now I'm not changing anything on my gear set. I'm just seeing if I get something better by chance, and it doesn't usually happen. But that game... The story in that game, a lot of people can question it. I'd recommend, obviously it's an online multiplayer is the best way to play it. The story in that game, I actually thoroughly enjoyed. A lot of people didn't, because I think they didn't pay attention to it.
That was my problem. I didn't even know it existed, really, the story,
but there's a twist near the there's a few twists in there, but the big twist happens near the end. And I remember playing with David, and we finished this mission. I go, oh shit. Things just changed, and he was like, yeah, and that's when I wanted to play the last few missions. And then the other thing that's really cool, this might be spoiler potentially, so if you don't hear it, fast forward like 20 seconds, but they added a mission after the final mission that wasn't on the map, which was kind of nice.
That's cool.
So it's like you thought you were done, but here's one last thing for you next week. So okay, spoiler over. But yeah, Division's number 2.
Cool.
I've played it for hours.
Let's get her done, guys. Number one. I'm excited to see what yours is, because I thought it was going to be Final Fantasy.
Yeah, or Dark Souls.
Or Dark Souls, yeah. I mean, really, what else was there?
As it turns out, Overwatch.
Oh, that game.
I was going to say, he hasn't said Overwatch yet.
Overwatch is my personal game of the year.
Which was the game of the year? It was the Game Awards Game of the Year.
It was.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not a competitive shooter player by any stretch, and that is why I love Overwatch so much, because it has... From the first day that I bought it and played it, it drew me in. And I originally was playing as like Roadhog and a lot of those guys. I tried to play as like Diva and some of those other ones and completely hated them. And it was only until I actually took a step back and like realized that they needed to be played each character differently because they are character classes. That I was like, okay, this game has a lot of depth to it. And now like Diva's my main. I love Mei. You know, I had my best game where I did 60-player kill streak, and I, was gold and everything. And I was like,
one of these days we're gonna play together. I'm gonna just heal you constantly, because what I do as Mercy is I pick the biggest character to just hang out on and give damage boost and healing, and then flip to the other.
I won't ever die. But the game is gorgeous. The music is fantastic. The
DLCs have been really nice. The updates they've been doing. They had the Halloween one, and now they're in
the fact that a lot of all the content's been free, except for the loot boxes. I don't like the loot box system, but that's not enough to dissuade me from enjoying that. But system. You can also
one of the things I think that kind of gets me around the loot box system is the fact that if you do get currency, which I wish you could get currency other ways besides loot boxes, you can buy skins in other ways.
Yeah,
but I've gotten many duplicates, and I'm like right now the holiday update's going on, and 9 times out of 10, I don't get a holiday thing. I get another skin. And I was like, I don't want this. This is holiday time. Yeah. Like, it's a Christmas present for that reason.
Like, it isn't necessarily the most unique shooter in the whole entire world, but that's just Blizzard's thing, is that they take styles of games and make it characteristically polished and well done. What I also really like about it is the implications of all the lore that's there, and the fact that each of the characters have quips that they will say to each other, or like, you'll have some of the original Overwatch team members who will say things to each other. Like when Ana was the DLC, she would talk to, Soldier 76 or Winston or something like that, and they have these background stories that just further develop their characters on top of, like, just the little one-liners that they say, or the little animated films that they put out. There's just a lot of thought and care put into that game, and it feels great.
It's very well balanced.
It's, like I said, I've never felt bad playing that game, even though I'm against people who are 4 times the level than me. I can still be just as good as them and not feel like a trash player because of the way that game positively enforces your experimentation. And the fact that there are things like quick play and the arcade, and then there's the competitive and stuff like that.
I've not done competitive yet. I'm scared.
Yeah, but even then, like, you still...
That's how it ranks you.
Can find your place and still feel like you are a contributing member to a team, no matter what you're doing. And I think that's something special that we don't always get out of games, because it's a lot of, like, putting people down and making them feel shitty about how bad they are. This game celebrates differences and different skill levels in a way that I don't think we see in many games. And one of the things I really like about it, as somebody who just, like I said, number 2 is the Division for me, the partying system in that. The Division has a shitty party system, but the fact that, like, in Overwatch, when I leave, if I'm the group leader, I can leave as a group and bring everybody out. Star Wars Battlefront is the worst party system in a game, period, that does not... And we're like, this is how it should be done. Even, granted, Titanfall 2 I think is way better just because of the way it is, but for a basic, simple party system, you go hit triangle, you find the person, you invite them, done. You're good to go.
And you can also, the other thing I like is you can go and find recent players. So that we were playing the other night. Now they have the group up. You can R1 to group up, which I like. But you can go find recent players. So maybe some reason somebody got disconnected, that it was a random that was playing with you, like, you can invite them back and not have an issue with that. So.
And you mentioned before it's a social game. Like, I have spent so many good hours with some friends. One of my friends I went to visit in Connecticut, him and I still, regularly play, and a few friends are getting Overwatch for Christmas, and so it might be something.
I don't know why we haven't played.
I don't know why either.
It's because I hated the game, and then I was like, Jordan liked the game, you can't play with him.
So that is my, after much deliberation, number 1. Final Fantasy, again, will sometimes flip-flop with it, but I think Overwatch is most consistently in there as my favorite game of the year.
That's fair.
You know what Tom's isn't? Overwatch.
He's like, no, actually, Overwatch. I haven't played it.
I almost can guarantee I know what Tom's is right now because he hasn't said it yet.
Obviously.
Cooking Mama 3.
No, obviously, with the short time that I spent with it, and I say short lovingly because short as in like three
short.
solid 8-hour like stints in it, and then a little bit here and there. Final Fantasy has been mine because here's the reason why. Final Fantasy X, as you guys know, was one of my favorite games ever made. Probably the favorite game that has ever been made for me. And I have a lot of fond memories of it. And the most fond memories are just playing it at certain times of year. Just, completely relaxed, completely engaged in the story, completely able to lose myself.
Is your background still Final Fantasy X? Or did you change
it? It is.
Final Fantasy
and it plays a little...
It's still Final Fantasy X.
Beautiful, beautiful music. And I bought the remake as well, and I played that too. But...
That's because it's a good remake.
Right. But the 13, because 12 was good. 13, for me, was a giant letdown, like it was for a lot of people, because of the things that I enjoyed about Final Fantasy that were all missing, like, towns and things like that. But also just the fact that it was massively linear for so long before it opened up and allowed you to do anything. The tutorial was literally like 13 hours. So I just kind of got... I didn't hate it. It wasn't what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I know that this game has been in development hell and out of development hell for close to 10 whole years now. I was
16 when that game was announced.
Which is amazing considering that it came out within a week of The Last Guardian, which was also a good 9-10 year wait.
17 when that was announced.
So
I didn't even know that was a game until this year or last year.
Because this is back after Shadows of Colossus. Everyone was dying for that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those games that since I've sat down with it, I've done enough to fully appreciate all the small touches, all the little Japanese quirks they throw in there. Just the fact that they start the game off with you and your friends with a broken cart, and you all have to push it to the nearest garage, and that's like how they start rolling the credits and everything as you pushing
with
this
the cover
car.
of is it Stand By Me?
Yeah, it's Florence and the Machine, I believe, doing that.
It's a great cover. Yeah.
I love the fact, because I always joke that you love weird Japanese games. The fact that that's your number one is awesome.
Yeah,
like
it's the most American weird Japanese game.
Yes.
Yeah, it really is. Like it is. I've got a foot in both worlds. It is still very much a JRPG love letter, but it has enough Western elements in it, including the incredible AI.
Which is why I'm partially looking to pick it up.
Right.
I mean, that's what gets me.
And I think you would enjoy it. And I think it's one of those things that the AI made it interesting. The camping mechanism makes it interesting with having buffs throughout each day, and actually, like the more that you travel and sample different foods, the more things that you learn to cook. And the fishing is a fun side distraction.
It's the first fishing game I've liked.
Super deep, with all the laws and everything. It's a bit better than Elder Scrolls, but it's like an actual fishing game. Like when you actually get a bite, it's kind of hard to reel it in.
Sega bass fishing.
Yeah, it's closest to that.
Do you have the real
I don't have that. I wish. I know there's a VR element coming to it later along the lines. It's going to be a late DLC for it, but I know that's existing. And any game that's supporting VR right now also gets an extra boost in credit from me. But I just think it is pretty much everything I wanted it to be so far. I'm nowhere near as deep in the game as someone like Jordan, but I've loved every second so far, and there's not been a single moment, like even just riding chocobos and things like that. There's not been a moment that I've just been like, oh, that kind of sucks. Like everything has been great, surprise, great.
Nice.
So far, and it may change again. We thought No Man's Sky was great when it came out, but it may change. But as of right now, currently,
you found a giant hunk of gold.
Right. Final Fantasy will be my number one. Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah. Nice.
How about you?
Do you know my number one? You might know my number one.
Undercut.
I'm trying to think of something you haven't said.
I talked about it constantly, and it's always been flip-flopping with Division.
Overwatch, then?
No, I already did Overwatch.
Did you? American Truck Simulator?
Inside. I played that as my number one.
Inside,
I've never had a game...
That would have been my disappointment. I forgot about that game.
No. I never had a game that's gripped me so well and made me want to continue to figure out what the hell is happening. Again, I still have the kind of Firewatch feeling at the end where I was like, what the hell? Because it just kind of, I'm not going to spoil it, but just kind of ended.
Yeah, that game was weird.
Didn't really get an answer. But it kind of flowed with what was happening of what the hell is happening. But you get enough detail of what is going on. But there was the moment where I was like, okay, this is weird, is when you notice the stuff in the background that hints towards what's about to happen.
Yeah.
And to me, I was like, okay, this is cool. I sat down and played that in one sitting.
Me too.
I streamed it. It was a lot of fun. Thank God I streamed it, because I was not going to finish it if I didn't stream it, because people were helping me in the chat. But that game, from an art style perspective, I played Limbo. Problem I had with Limbo was too hard for me in a lot of
Limbo
places.
was very difficult.
Versus this, I would get stuck, but it's like, okay, here's where I need to go. Here's the puzzle I need to solve. It was simple enough that it was hard enough that it was a challenge, but simple enough that I didn't get frustrated enough to put the controller down.
Yep.
There's only one section that kind of frustrated me, and that's because I didn't see something.
Yeah.
Once I saw it, I was like, oh, this makes obvious sense. So Inside from Play Dead, which is indie game. I've always said an indie game should have the ability to win Game of the Year. I thought it should have won Game of the Year at the Game Awards.
Yeah.
Granted, Overwatch is a fantastic game. I have no issue with it at all.
Yeah.
But Inside, by far, has been the one game, if I go back to...
And I think that's a very personal choice for you as well,
Yes.
isn't it? It's something that it just kind of playing through it hit you in the balls somewhere, and you were just like,
it's kind of
oh,
like Division.
wow.
I mean, it's like the Division. It was really hard to choose between the Division and Overwatch, because Division I put so many hours in, and I was like, I love this.
I think the Division's a different type of experience, though, because
Yes.
Division you enjoyed for different reasons. Because
Yes.
you were playing with your friends, you were looting together
It was
and
more of a
fighting
game,
together.
whereas
this,
experience.
like, Inside for you is more like me with Oxenfree. It's kind of something that was deeply personal when you were playing it, and you'll remember it forever because of the story elements and because of that sort of thing.
Like I said, the moment where I realized something had was a little bit awry because you start out in being chased and shot at, which is fun, and the animation in that game is like everything timed out.
It was very pretty.
There's the jump where you're being chased by dogs, and if you didn't time that right, those dogs were vicious and would rip you apart. Like first time I died in that game, I was like, holy shit! I actually went back into that game and played it and see how many different ways I could die to see the different animations.
They're pretty brutal.
There's some.
They were pretty rough with Limbo as well.
They're like Tomb Raider brutal style, but Inside by far. I don't want to say by far. Inside and Division are my top two, but Inside is number one.
That's cool.
I loved that game.
Lots of indies represented on all the top fives this year.
I had none of mine, which is surprising.
Yeah. Do you have any honorable mention indies?
So I actually have a whole 10, and then I have some more games. But I'll
go on. Let's start with one of your honorable mentions then.
Do we want to just go ahead and just do like honorable mention of just a big list, since we kind of spent a little bit of time talking?
Sure,
about
and I would say just keep them brief, but go ahead.
Starting from bottom to top, Darkest Dungeon is on my top 10.
Isn't that on PS4 now?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not the best way to play that game because the menus really do benefit from a mouse. It actually took the spot of XCOM 2 in my top 10.
Really?
Yeah. Just because the level, I mean, I definitely felt engaged with my characters in XCOM 2, but you guys know how I was when I was doing the quick bite and I lost Freya, and I just like cried practically.
And that was on sale recently as well, so that's one that does, apparently it's in the sale rotation now, because if you notice, it's usually the same games that go on sale every week.
It's also cross-buy and save, so you can have a video, you can play it on there. And
I didn't know that. That's good. I might pick that up.
Next up after that is Rise of the Tomb Raider.
I was surprised it wasn't on your list because that game was...
The previous Tomb Raider is one of the best. It's better Uncharted than Uncharted's been in a long time. Yeah. The second one just added more crafting elements, added more game to it, and I think that it did a really good job in that regard.
I'm yet to play that, which is probably, if I had played it, it might have made it higher up the list.
Great, yeah. Next up after that's Dishonored 2.
Okay. Also yet to play.
Storyline is kind of but the actual world building and the storytelling that those guys are able to do with their levels is a masterclass. The aesthetic is fantastic, and there's just more of the game. And so,
is it more because the original issue I had with the first Dishonored was that it didn't seem like there was many areas of approach that you could take to any given situation. Have they widened that up more sort of to like Crisis style, where you can basically go wherever you want to take 100%. On something?
I mean, because I always felt like the first one championed your choice with that, being that you could go without killing a single person,
right?
Being seen with those kinds of things. But yeah, the fact that you have two playable characters, each with different skill sets. And there's about a dozen or so different ways you can actually traverse through a level.
Interesting.
There's a lot more playability with that. After that, it's Watch Dogs 2 for me, which you kind of talked about a little bit earlier. It's just a really fun game.
I'm definitely going to pick that one
up. High
up.
Production values. It's got a great cast of characters, a really fun story.
San Francisco.
The soundtrack is also phenomenal.
Really?
Really good.
Modern or?
A little bit of mix of everything. There's a Run the Jewels song on there actually as well, so I just bumped that when I'm about to go hack some shit. And then my number 6 is Hitman, because that game is, while it's not at the top of my list, single-handedly some of the most fun I've had.
That was the one that came out. That was the one that came out in like.
It was the episodic thing.
Yeah, it came out in doses.
The level design in that and just the amount of shit that you can do is fantastic. And it's just a goofy game. Like, it is definitely a very grounded...
Wait, Goofy's in it?
Yes. Okay. But, like, the fact that you can, like...
Gosh.
I'm gonna kill you.
You know, you can like throw, like he overhand throws things at people. Like it's like he doesn't just throw with like a one-handed wrench. Like he just fucking wails it at him. And like the fact that you can just like someone will be like, "What the fuck?" and then it's like a fucking wrench hits him in the face, and then you just leave him there naked.
By the time this goes
around.
up, this podcast, this should still be on sale because it will be still within week 3 of the holiday. So that's another one you can pick up for half off as one of Jordan's mentions.
So those are my like last few top 10, but my honorable mentions go to XCOM 2, Doom, and Virginia.
Did you ever get into the Doom multiplayer?
No, I not at all. I just did single player, but it's like a 20-hour single player. So
Virginia, we have a bite of Virginia going up.
Yeah, we had an interesting time with Virginia.
Virginia, I think, is actually a better version of Firewatch.
Really?
I love the way that...
We stopped when it started getting good.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to spoil it.
The aesthetic in that game I really like. The fact that it's a silent game is really cool.
The silence is odd to me. See, I like dialogue, so even though I appreciated the silent elements of it, I kind of wish they were talking.
I almost fell asleep when we were recording that. One, I was tired, and two, there's just not much going on.
I agree, but I think the fact that they can still tell a compelling story and also make you care about these characters... and still give you really great twists. And it kind of has, it doesn't necessarily have the supernatural elements, but it has the psychological elements that I maybe wish that Firewatch had. It's very much a David Lynch film.
It does have a Twin Peaksy feel to it,
in a
doesn't
game.
it?
So those are probably my 3 honorable mentions: be XCOM 2, Doom, and Virginia.
Awesome.
Doom was, I think, a surprise to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because of that was back when they didn't give out press keys, and that usually means the game's not going to be good.
Yep.
Yeah, they're like, fuck you, we're doing that from this point forward, and we proved to you that Doom was good. Yep. So
I still don't like the Doom multiplayer. I haven't played the single player. I will pick it up on sale at some point just for the single player.
Dumbest fun you will have.
I remember you trying to make that jump.
So my honorable mention list is a few. I want to put Hollowball in there because Hollowball is one of the most fun you can have.
That was on my list.
Yeah, it is essentially
it
it's kind of squash in the most 80s possible VR setting.
You also punch microphones when you do that.
Yeah.
You heard about that, right?
So basically you're playing the AI as one of the last humans on the planet, and your job, of course, is to protect your car, because what's more important to an 80s post-apocalyptic Mad Max style character than a car?
Nothing.
And it's behind him. And of course, if the ball slips by you, it wrecks your car. So you're there just paddling away. But everything about that game feels fantastic. The movement is fantastic. The fact that your tennis racket feel like lightsabers is fantastic. The music pumps you up.
Yes.
It's an amazing 80s soundtrack.
They chose the right thing for that.
Just really well made. And even though it's one of those kind of like it's a play a couple times and then give up on it thing, it does give you a bit of a workout. So I thought that was worth throwing in.
They're recording 2 videos on it.
Titanfall 2 I had in here because that wasn't in my primary list. Uncharted 4 I had in here because I did have a lot of fun with that. Not everything I was looking for, but definitely kept me engaged, and the narrative nature of the storytelling in that game was Naughty Dog at its finest. They really did a great job with a lot of that. Weirdly, I have The Division in here as an honorable mention for the time that I did enjoy with it.
I won't forget that one time we tried to do that mission on hard, and that was
right because when you do play with friends, when that game is firing on all cylinders, it is a very enjoyable game. And then 2 more, Lichtspiel, which I've already talked about a little bit, which is ridiculously fun German javelin game, I guess. But it's a lightning javelin, and it's just super silly fun and super cheap. So I would definitely recommend Lichtspiel to anyone that wants to play. And lastly, and this is the one that I almost couldn't put it on the list because technically it's not a game, as you pointed out earlier, the single best gaming experience I've had almost ever was with the fully fledged VR final version of the Resident Evil 7 demo. And it is playing through that game the way that I did, because I knew that they had announced the final part of the demo. I knew that meant that there was more to do. Doors were unlocked. There was different areas.
And they went, oh, wait, it's VR enabled.
Yeah, and then they were like, oh, by the way, the entire game is available in VR, and the tutorial to set you up for it is great.
I can't wait to see how they handle the full release of the game. Will that full game be in VR, and will they give you like?
It is definitely in VR.
I feel like they did give you warning at some point, like a reminder, like, hey, you should probably make sure you.
There's definitely going to be some take your helmet off after this amount of playtime stuff in there, because frankly, that experience is unlike anything I've ever witnessed before. It is as immersive as you would want it to be. If you've played through the normal demo, which I have done several times because I recorded a review for it, which I played through it about 4 or 5 times, even knowing when the scares are does not make them any less scary when you are in that fucking house with the headset on. And the fact that they opened up this kind of different area of the game, which is, well, I'll just say it, the basement, for this demo, there are things in the basement that would make a grown man cry. And
are there mannequins?
I won't say any more.
Okay. I don't fuck with mannequins.
But Jordan might be playing that later today.
Let's just say there's definitely mannequins in the demo. But yes, it is absolutely incredible. And when I took that headset off, I remember just feeling this incredible sense of awe. And
you should have seen the message you sent me. I read it out last
I pre-ordered the game on the spot. That's how impressed I was with the VR demo of that game. Playing the whole game in VR.
It's a VR seller.
Oh, it is absolutely the killer VR app that people have been looking for. As long as they can pull the game off, but in the same nature that they pulled off the demo. I mean, it can't be that fucking hard if you nail a demo.
The only issue I have with it being a VR killer or being the seller is the fact that it's a horror game, and people like me
Right, and of course but the important part about that, Keegan, is not that that you won't necessarily be able to play it. It's that they're going to prove to other developers
what to
that
do.
it can be done,
Yes.
and done well, and done from the ground up.
And they'll be like, this is what you should.
And when you can play that game flat and in VR and get the same experience, except with obviously different levels of immersion, that's when you've done it right.
Yeah.
And I did not feel sick for 1 second playing that game.
Do you think they'll do 2 reviews on that game going forward? Like, what do you think they'll do, a VR review and then they'll do like a flat review?
I probably think VR will be a subsection of the flat review. To be honest.
Probably just the flat review, and then they'll say VR.
This is what we thought.
Quality is
to me, that game, like let's pretend the whole game was the demo. The demo was an 8 out of 10. VR took it to a 9.5 out of 10, purely because of the sense of immersion, because you can get like right in that muck of that house, looking like on the floor, looking at the grime and the bugs, and when the flies are there, they're actually buzzing around you, and it's just so fucking creepy. Yes. And we are possibly going to force Jordan to play it as well.
You don't have to force me. I want to.
I'm not going to play it.
So I will say it is absolutely, if you've not done it and you have a VR headset, you're missing out.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm going to start with I have 3 VR games, 2 non-VR games. I'm going to start with the one which we all mentioned, Titanfall 2.
Nice.
I think it was one of those games that kind of just missed the cut to be a top-tier game, but it's one I think everybody should play. Yep. I'm not going to talk about it because we've talked about it enough at this point, but pick up Titanfall 2 if you haven't. The second one that is a non-VR game was Unravel. That made me super excited when that came out.
I will give that props. That was great.
That was a lot of fun. The problem I had with that game was it just, after a certain point, just became the same thing over and over and over. And I was like, okay.
Little repetitive, but beautiful looking game. Yes.
And I was very happy. I mean, it's going to hurt me to say, but EA, I just got a message saying Tracer's a lesbian. Official Overwatch comic book said so.
Wow.
Fun fact. But anyway.
Oh, really? That's the lesbian character.
Yeah. Okay. So, spoilers, potentially. But Unravel was a fantastic game. EA, I think they nailed it. I hope they do more indie games like that and give those little guys the bigger chance. We talked about it before.
Yeah.
Then my 3 VR games that got me. One is Batman Arkham VR. I think that is one of the experience for first time you put the headset on. I think that should be one of the first ones you play. It may not be the best overall, but I think it's the best of like, holy shit.
I think it was better than most people were expecting it to be.
I think it's what it is it's very limited what it can do, but it also gives you that immersion of being in this world but not having to worry about motion sickness because you're not moving.
Right.
So that's why I think.
And I think that ending was a solid ending to that
the only issue, I wish it kept going.
Yeah.
But yes. So Batman Arkham VR. The second one is Super Hypercube, which I absolutely love that game to death.
Currently on sale.
I love the game to death. If you don't know what it is, it's like hole in the wall 3D Tetris. You got to look around, and I like it because it's not a game. It's a game that'd be really hard to do not in VR. Mm-hmm. You could theoretically do it, but it would be tricky because I like the whole moving my head to look around, and the blocks being in 3D make it really tricky to know which way to rotate it.
Right.
And then my last one is Time Machine VR.
Nice.
We have a bite up of that, or I guess a VR level 2 VR of that. It's fantastic. One of my favorite games in VR. I love it because of the educational purposes. I've always said VR from the get-go has to do well outside of gaming for it to be a mainstream success, because gaming is going to be a minuscule part of it. But that to me just showed education. It kind of was like, imagine if we had this in schools. Like I said earlier, my brother has an HTC Vive in their school. Picture them go to science class in a virtual world to learn about dinosaurs or whatever the hell they want.
That'd be cool.
That's amazing.
It's definitely the forefront of a potential educational revolution towards using science to teach kids and VR.
Because I don't think it's from a quote unquote
not
game
super
experience,
polished,
but
it is definitely a great proof of concept.
It's one of those things that I think if somebody grabs that concept and runs with it, it could be amazing both in gaming and outside gaming.
Absolutely,
as Walker mentioned when he was here with us. Yeah. But those are my honorable mentions. I mean,
I think we can all agree it's just there's never been a better time to play video games.
Yeah.
I think this year's been interesting. I've fallen definitely firmly more into the indie realm than I usually would do. I think I got my Final Fantasy that I wanted, and I think that all in all, just to see some lifelong projects like Final Fantasy and like Last Guardian and things like that actually finally come to fruition and see them get the praise they deserve has been nice. And I really do hope that with all the advancements that we're making, especially in the realm of VR, that next year is equally, if not way more enjoyable.
Yes, there's gonna be. I'm excited because the early half of next year has got some good things coming. I mean, you've got
that's true. We got a lot of pushback
Horizon,
stuff. Yeah,
is coming.
Persona 5.
Persona 5. The other one I'm excited for, which I've told the story before, but I saw the E3 trailer. It sucked. I got into the alpha and now I'm in the beta, or will be in the beta when it comes out. Is For Honor. Have you played it? It looked like garbage. But it did not present well at all.
I want to see how the single player campaign is on that first before I actually invest the money into it.
See, I'm the opposite. I'm like, multiplayer's got to be good, and they've already proved to me that that's worth it.
What was that other one as well? I forget the name of it. That Sony ended their E3 conference.
The zombie one?
The zombie one.
Oh, Days Gone?
Yeah,
Days Gone.
That's 2018 now, I think.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Oh, really?
I could be wrong.
That is depressing.
Yeah, I think it's 2018.
But that does look quite incredible as well.
We have Kojima's
Death Stranding to look forward to.
Who knows what year?
I will play the shit
Mons
out of
Mikkelsen's
that.
in that, and I'm pumped. Guillermo del Toro confirmed he is not in the game, though.
What I want to know is if Junji Ito has anything to do with it, because I don't think anyone said anything about that yet.
I don't know.
Because he was initially on board for the Silent Hills project, and he's my favorite horror writer of all time. So I'm kind of very excited to see if he's still on board with Death Stranding.
Can we talk about the one game that I'm super hyped for early next year, and it finally got a release date?
What?
Ukulele.
Oh yeah, Ukulele. It got pushed back though.
April 11th.
Yeah, which is fine.
Which they said Q1 2017. I didn't have a date.
I'm glad all my February games got pushed back. Like Persona 5 got pushed back to March. So that means I can get Horizon in February, Persona in March, and then
Persona was
Ukulele.
supposed to be this year, wasn't it?
Late this year, and then it got pushed back, which is fine. Then it was supposed to be Valentine's Day, and then it got pushed back again because. But they're also now giving like dual audio for free. So
I would definitely think that I would rather that they push a game back and do it right than release a huddled, bugged mess.
For Honor is on Valentine's Day as well. So what better way to spend with your significant other than slicing up samurais?
So you'd say For Honor is your most anticipated or Ukulele?
Ukulele is probably my most anticipated. For Honor, I'm gonna love. And my most intrigued one is for Horizon, because it's not a type of game I would normally like, but that everything I've seen, and I don't own a PS4 Pro, you both do.
Yeah.
I would love to see, because I feel like that's going to be the first game that was built with PS4 Pro in mind that comes out without patching it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I can only imagine what the hell that thing's going to look like. Mm-hmm. Like, I
need the right TV to play it, though. Yes. I am unfortunate in that area. Yeah. You're good.
Jordan went all in when it came out.
I'm rocking that single life right now, so it's fine.
But yeah, it was that probably is the one that intrigues me most, but I don't know. I'm going to wait before I buy that personally, just because I want to see what it is. I have the collector's edition
pre-ordered with like the statue and everything.
Cool. I'll get your opinion on it.
I'm just super excited to see what happens with Resident Evil, see if they can pull it off.
So that'd be your probably most anticipated game of 2017?
Absolutely. Yeah, Resident Evil. Persona 5 definitely on the list, but Resident Evil in full VR, if they can pull it off, and if they can, what that means for VR in general going forward. That's the most exciting thing.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Mine's probably... Persona 5 is definitely one of those up there, but I think the sequel to Nier Automata...
looked interesting.
When's Neo come out? Because I know you were all into that when they had the beta. Is that next year?
Neo is next year at some point. Okay. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that too. But Nier is probably one of my favorite previous gen consoles. It's actually in my top 10 games of all time. Because it was a mess of a game, but the story and voice acting and music just resonated with me a ton. This new one's produced or developed by Platinum Games, who did like
they're doing Spider-Man.
Yeah, they're doing Spider-Man. They did Vanquish. They did Metal Gear Solid Revengeance. So they know how to make good gameplay. Mm-hmm. It also has my favorite Final Fantasy character artist who did Final Fantasy 12 and a bunch of the older ones.
Isn't Kingdom Hearts coming out next year too?
Maybe.
Hopefully.
I
need to play the first two. I've not played any of them.
But yeah, Nier Automata is my number one most anticipated. I actually pre-ordered the black box edition, which comes with a statue and stuff. It's $200. But
you guys have no money.
It is my most anticipated game.
Did you see the Resident Evil, speaking of collector's edition, the Resident Evil collector's edition with the house?
Because of the dead person.
Oh, it's so cool. The house, it's like a music box house thing that is like really cool.
Super
looking.
Creepy. Little doll heads in there or something.
And then I was watching IGN doing an unboxing, and there's a little spoilers thing, but I guess it's not really spoiler because the game's not out yet. But there's they said there's a person in the window that has something to do with the game. That's all he could say.
That's fucking cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
then. Well, I guess that just about wraps up 2016.
Yeah. What about what do you guys out in either audio land or video land? What's your game of the year? What are you guys looking forward to
Top
next
fives.
year? Let us know down below. in the comments.
And want to see top 5s, and if you want, or if you just want to throw honorable mentions in there, that's fine too.
Or if there's something we completely missed,
because a lot of our lists are obviously PS4 heavy. I know that other
PC.
consoles exist.
I really wanted. One of the games I didn't play this year that I wanted to was Forza Horizon 3. I think the game's fantastic. I just never picked it up.
Yeah,
I wish I had a 3DS because I probably would have put in some time with the Fire Emblem Fates.
Yeah, I would have done Pokemon
and probably the Pokemon games.
So let us know if any of you guys have played any of those, if they deserve to have a place in the list of 2016, and what you are also looking forward to in 2017 with all of the pushbacks that we have.
So, do you have anything you want to plug before we sign off?
Not really. I haven't figured out what I'm doing with my life, so I don't really have anything.
That's why he bought a PS4 Pro and a 4K TV.
Yeah, but if you are interested at all in like
lists
or anything like that,
find Jordan.
Like I mentioned, my letterboxd is letterboxd.com/jballin.
You want
to
spell Ballin?
JBAWLIN.
There you go.
You can also follow my Instagram, which is just jballin, and I'm also on Twitter at he has a red beard.
Because he does.
Is that new?
Yeah,
I've made 4 in the past 2 years.
Yeah, I got the email when you joined it. It's like your friend Jordan Twitter. I was like,
he has a red beard.
Yeah, so at he has a red beard for Twitter, jballin for literally everything else. You can see a lot of my lists and things like that that I post up my thoughts with. So
yeah. All right. Well, in that case, I guess that's over and done for us for this week's podcast. Episode 10 next week.
Episode 10 is next week. If you guys like this, subscribe to us on iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher or SoundCloud or wherever you want to listen to us, as well as on Google at level2gamers.com.
Yeah, and if you like it a whole lot, then you can donate to our Patreon and get more.
Do you know what that link is?
Stuff. I don't.
Patreon.com/level2gamersstl.
There you go. And alongside that, just let us know. Reach out to us with comments in the video below for anything that you'd like to see from us in the new year in general.
Yeah. So thanks for watching, guys.
And as always, welcome to the second level.
Bye.
It ain't
no game, but they saying welcome to the second level.